I can do the intro.
Okay, going ahead then.
Hello, welcome to the new episode of our live stream, The Political Matrix. Welcome to the Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to the Hunger Games. May the odds be.
L, your the YouTube you got in the background has you echoing.
I know, I turned it off. Well, that was as awkward as it should be.
So I'm going ahead. Hello everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Political Matrix, as L has let you guys in on. Let's go into the. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. I have an interruption going on right now, so I'm trying to get everything situated. So our topics for tonight. Let me find it. We will be talking about what's going on with Status Coup and Jordan Sheraton. What's going on with Jordan Sheridan and Jen Dize. The court blocking Biden's OSHA mandate. China and the panic buying, and so much more. So I guess without further ado, we will go on ahead and just jump straight in. I'm sure Elle wants to talk about the Biden, the court mandate. So I'm going to do that, and I will be right back. So go on ahead, take it, Elle.
Well, I wanted to save that for when there's a bigger audience, but okay. Oh, Misha's in the house. Hey, Misha. What up? I just said it to you, so I'm not going to say it in the chat, but hey, Misha. Good to see you. Welcome. So, yeah, just what happened is there was, like 6 days ago, I guess, there was a, what do you call it? A halt on the mandate from OSHA. And now there has been a little more development there with the Federal Court of Appeals and they're like the Fifth Circuit, and they have now reaffirmed that.
I was going to say, Elle, if you feel like you want to wait for a larger audience, I guess go into what was your other stories you want to talk about with
and also I wanted to like dive into it and like look at the document and everything so people could read along.
Because I still kind of look at it as I don't know how this is really going to.
Well, it's interesting. There's an interesting part of it I wanted to mention that I think people would understand why perhaps this happened the way that it did, and not in a very organic way.
Yeah, I look at out here in California, Gavin Newsom's still going to go ahead, so this ain't going to affect me at all. So, but you can. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm getting my coffee together, so I'm situated. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, like they said on Twitter, like, is there such thing as too much coffee? Like, everything is, a question on Twitter now with these stupid articles. It's like, maybe we should be more like the Europeans and live with less and all of this stuff. All these random ass propaganda articles on Twitter. That just reminded me of it. But yeah, so the mandate situation. So what I read in the original OSHA mandate was mentioned, something that was mentioned in the halt of it in this document from the Federal Court of Appeals. And it was about the fact that it's just the 100 or more employees that are in grave danger of getting COVID-19 in the office. So they mentioned that in the document and how it can't be that much of an emergency if it's only for one group of people, if it's not for the 199 or less employees. So I thought that was an interesting way to go about it.
This is a
But
circuit
okay.
in, was that Louisiana, I believe?
I thought they said it was New Orleans, Louisiana, but I don't
Okay.
know. Let me see exactly what it says here. Um,
Yeah, sorry, I haven't tweeted. Yeah, I'm running
Fifth
a little
Circuit.
behind, so I hadn't tweeted out all the other people to Discord and everything yet. So sorry about that. That's what I'll do and try to get some more people in here.
It doesn't really say where, but I'm gonna put it in the chat, the private chat here, so we can look at it when we get started. Dang it. Okay.
Or
Because it
probably
was
wait till
really hard
Chris
to
pops in,
find it.
so Chris can add it. Chris can add it. He said he'd be right in, so just waiting on him to hop in.
Yeah. Putting it in there. But yeah, basically they were talking about how it's overbroad and it seems to say that these people are affected by the virus, but the people.
Chris.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, trying to add him. I guess something's going on with it. I'll try to tell him to come back, log out, and come back in.
Have you tried logging out and logging back in?
No, that's what I said. I'm gonna tell him. You go ahead. I'll take care of it.
No, it's a joke. Oh gosh. Um. Anyway, I have a Hunger Games avatar. I thought it would be better looking than this. Oh well. But the Mockingjays in it, so that's cool. Anyone else in the chat? Anyone else here?
Yeah, we got a couple more people here. They just haven't hopped in. They're not commenting yet, so we got a couple other viewers. So, what else did you notice about it?
There's Mona. Hey, girl. Hello, LaJuan James. What up? Back to you. The books were better than the movies. I've read almost all of them. I don't think I read Mockingjay, to be honest. I think I only read the first one and then Catching Fire, and then I just stopped. And then I read the very end of the last book because I'm not going to put that much effort into it. I'm sorry. I put too much effort into the Twilight series. I'm not going to do the same thing there.
What would you say is the major differences you saw from the book to the movies?
I don't remember it that well, but I feel like there was a lot more information. This is one of those things about the movies or whatever. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you can't really feel the character, what they're feeling as much in the movie. That's the thing that's good about books is that you can get into their heads and you know what they're thinking. But if you have them in a scene and there's so many thoughts going on in their head, it's hard to pick which one's most important to interpret in their expression. And so it just ends up being very not as effective. And I felt that way about the Hunger Games. I felt like the stakes weren't as high as in the book, in my opinion.
Yeah, because somebody told me that's a big difference is in the books it focuses a lot more on the politics of things that are going on, and it focuses a lot more on the actual starvation.
Yeah. You would expect
That's just what I read.
Hollywood to ignore the most important parts of the book. You would expect that. But yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, you get in Katniss's head and you actually like her. I mean, you like her in the movie, but not as much as you do in the book, that's for sure. And I didn't like Gale in the movie almost at all. And I liked him at least in the beginning, in the first book. I remember liking him, but I was like, I don't know if I want them together, but they're cute, I guess. But in the movie, it was just like, fuck Gail, get out of my face. Where's PETA? Show me PETA again. And they didn't focus as much on PETA in the movie either. And I was like, oh man.
Let's see, we got Shadow. Shadow popped in for a minute as usual. He pops in, shows some love, and then he has the dip. I wanted to share Mona's comment here. It says, "My daughter hates when I ask her to compare and contrast movies and books. She always sighs when I ask her teacher questions." Yeah, I know that's how kids can be, but I always find that's one of the most important. I guess here, let me click my camera on while I'm talking.
You
I'm
sound
still
a
trying to
little
get
weird.
out a couple more. I guess I'm trying to not be looking down the whole time, so that's why I clicked my camera off. But I always find that interesting because like I'll give a perfect example. I don't know who all out there is a fan of Game of Thrones, but I used to love some Game of Thrones, and then I started getting into the audiobooks. I didn't actually like physically read it, but I did the audiobooks the next closest thing. And what I would notice in the audiobooks is the story is much more complex. It's much more vivid. And that's one of the major things I notice in most book to film adaptations. Sorry, getting a little tongue tied. I think Hollywood in general, and then when I'm saying Hollywood, that's all encompassing, all different movie lots, whether it's in Atlanta or London or Sydney or whatever. I'm just saying Hollywood as a colloquial term. But it seems that it often gets dumbed down. And one thing I remember hearing about Hollywood in general is that's something that's been a big major push to do, because when you translate the movies into different languages, it makes it a lot easier to be able to translate these movies and the storylines and plots. So just my quick assessments. um, Lawan says, in the books, you get the Katniss head almost. Oh, so it's coming from her perspective.
Yeah, I said that
Whereas
before.
I feel, yeah, I don't feel it really does. Sorry if I missed that. I was probably trying to type up some of the different, out to different people. So my apologies.
Your audio is a little weird. I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe I'm not that loud. Maybe I'll.
No. It's breaking up a lot, and we haven't even gotten.
You said it's
anything.
picking up.
It's breaking up. Yeah.
No sé. Hold on a second.
So now that you guys are all here, I was talking about the ETS that we talked about before, which is the emergency temporary standard for the OSHA rule, or the OSHA rule, really. The vaccine mandate for employees over 100 employees, And hopefully my audio is okay here. But I was talking about the Court of Appeals. So the Federal Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit Court, has halted this mandate and now is reaffirming that halt on it and citing reasons why. Yeah, grave danger fee. So that's part of the sticking point that they have in their document that I'm going to show whenever Chris gets here. And it's that they say, I said this before, but I'll say this again because now that everybody's here. So, and it's a really awkward beginning, super awkward, fun cast level awkward. But so they, in this document, the PDF that I will talk about and maybe go more in depth on my, I can put it in the chat. I put it in the private chat already, so I'm hoping that we get to see it, but I'll put it in here if I can, if you can see it and copy and paste it. I don't know, but I tried. But anyway, it was hard to find because I was looking on Twitter and they were talking about the Federal Court of Appeals and this halt and everything, and they had like documents and everything. But then I couldn't find the actual document in the real news stories like Reuters and shit, like legit, not legit, but like the mainstream news articles that were all over the place. And even in the non-mainstream news article, I couldn't find the damn PDF. So I had to look for it myself, finally found it and saved it. And now I can really look at it. It's 29 pages long. It tells you all the reasons why they want to halt the mandate, that it's overbroad, that it covers only 100 plus employees, and they're the only ones in grave danger of getting COVID-19 according to this rule. So that's part of it. And then they show like the petitioners, what they said, and like it says why they said what they said about it. I guess I could read some of it. So it says here, to be lawfully enacted on page 9, an ETS must address substances or agents determined to be toxic or physically harmful or new hazards in the workplace, show that workers are exposed to such substances, agents, or new hazards in the workplace, show that said exposure places workers in grave danger, and be necessary to alleviate employees' exposure to gravely dangerous hazards in the workplace. As we have noted in the past, the precision of the standard makes it a difficult one to meet. And then it has a lot of jargon that I'm not going to get into looking at it. Observing that OSHA's ETS authority requires determination of danger from exposure to harmful substances, not just a danger of exposure, and not exposure to just a danger, but to grave danger, and not the necessity of just a temporary standard, but that an emergency temporary standard is necessary. And then it says, in its brief, Texas makes a compelling argument that neighboring phrases, substances or agents, and toxic or physically harmful place an airborne virus beyond the purview of an OSHA ETS in the first place. To avoid giving unintended breadth to the acts of Congress, courts rely on the principle of non-secure associis. A word is known by the company it keeps. Yates versus United States, 574 U.S. 528 543 2015 cleaned up. Here, OSHA's attempt to shoehorn an airborne virus is both widely present in society and thus not particular to any workplace, and non-life-threatening to a vast majority of employees, into a neighboring phrase connoting toxicity and poisonousness is yet another transparent stretch. Other cases involving OSHA, though not ETSs per se, shed further light on the intended meaning of these terms. And then it shows examples of that. So then it says, any argument OSHA may make that COVID-19 is a new hazard would directly contradict OSHA's prior representation to the DC Circuit that there can be no dispute that COVID-19 is a recognized hazard. And then see OSHA DC Circuit brief at 25, emphasis added. So it has all of these like references as well. Hey, Chris is here. And Emmanuel, hey. I was just going over the...
Oh, did you not notice that me and Chris showed up?
I was reading.
Elle does not look up when she's reading.
I can't see shit when I'm reading.
No,
Not look up at all when she's reading.
my computer
I
and
put
mic,
it in the
they
private
didn't want
chat.
to. Yeah,
Me too. My
computer
mic
didn't
was
sync
tuned.
up. Yeah,
Right,
it was
my
bad.
mic wasn't
Fellas,
syncing up
how are
either.
we doing? Chris, E, how's it going?
You still sound weird, Marcus.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do I sound weird to everybody?
Yeah, I've been having the same trouble with my microphone too. It took me like a good 5 or 10 minutes just to sync mine
Yeah,
up.
I'm not even using a microphone. I'm just using, This is the audio for the tablet.
It's like
Right. I was
a little bit. It's like there's a little bit of distortion.
We haven't even gotten into it, really.
I know that's what.
Did it just start, or did it start
if it
since
persists and doesn't get any better, I'll switch over.
I think he had better audio in the very
If it
beginning.
doesn't get any better, thanks. Yulu.
All right, thanks,
cool picture.
Yulu.
But yeah, if it doesn't get any better and I sound crappy, I will switch to I'll switch over to my phone. So just let me know.
Please do.
Okay.
All right. So
Nothing
give me a moment.
Okay. Nothing much. Just
no, you can go ahead. Give me a moment so I can switch.
Right. It's just the holidays. You know, the holidays are coming, so making plans and stuff like that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was
how you doing, Chris?
I'm all right. I was having an issue. I don't know. It was just weird. My computer and the camera just wouldn't recognize.
Wouldn't sync up, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Thing, and
I was having the same problem.
And my computer was off, so I just turned it on. Who knows? Did you guys see that bootleg video of us where that guy was singing?
Oh my gosh, that was awful. I almost disliked it because of the singing, honestly.
Someone, for those who don't know, somebody had time in their lives to
Yo, Chris, get the video.
If we have to watch it, you have to watch it.
I'm gonna wait for you because I want to see your facial expression when we play that. So that one I'll wait on. But anyway, I don't know if you already introduced. Did you already introduce the show, Marcus?
We did.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay,
Awkward.
Okay, good job, Val.
It was a super awkward intro.
It's fine.
I employ everyone to check it out when they get done with the stream. Go back and watch it for the awkwardness. Oh, it's classic.
Yes, if you're all fans of
There's been a status coup. Yeah, I'm not Marxist.
I don't know.
Where'd you come from? Good to see you.
All right, Mona.
I was talking about something, but I wanted to look at it, the document.
You gotta turn off your other
What
one.
in the world?
Yep, sorry about that.
Ouch.
Glad to see you too, Variant.
Okay, y'all gotta run. Bye, Mona.
Bye, Mona.
Thanks for chatting. So I was talking about the ETS and the Federal Court of Appeals, Chris, in the private chat. I put it there. It's not really an article. I don't know why I wrote that, but anyway, it's the PDF of it. And the reasonings why they've halted the mandate through OSHA.
Yeah, no, I saw that in the news. Anywhere in particular you want to start from?
Page 9 was what I was talking about, so I want to show what I was reading, so we don't get fact checked.
I mean, they're gonna do that.
It didn't sound very good if I.
They'll do it anyway. But
yeah, right.
Even so, at least we'll have
do it
that.
anyway. It won't make it.
It's not gonna matter.
Different.
All right, sound check. How's my audio?
That's
better.
Okay,
that's
cool.
better.
Yeah.
All right, you guys see me okay and everything? Cool.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah. So I just read this part, the first part, and then the second part, and then the next page. And I guess the other part I wanted to read was later in. Let me see if I can find it. Because it's just like two parts I really wanted to focus on. And then we can move on. So I don't have a whole lot of voice, to be honest, but I'm going to try my best here. Let's see.
Hey, you famous, kid.
Okay.
Nah, that was there's a funny story behind that picture. But, go ahead, Elle.
Page 15 is the next part. So we already did that part. So you guys can read that and see that I said stuff that's on the screen, blah, blah, blah. So 15 is the next part. And this is the other part I was mentioning before, which was about the under-inclusivity of the mandate and how it negates the 99 and below workers. So at the same time, the mandate is also under-inclusive. The most vulnerable worker in America draws no protection from the mandate if his company employs 99 workers or fewer. The reason why? Because as even OSHA admits, companies of 100 or more employers will be better able to administer and sustain the mandate. And then it says, see the register, the Federal Register that I went over last time. OSHA seeks information about the ability of employers with fewer than 100 employees to implement COVID-19 vaccination and or testing programs. That may be true, but this kind of thinking belies the premise that any of this is truly an emergency. Indeed, under-inclusiveness of this sort is often regarded as a telltale sign that the government's interest in enacting a liberty-restraining pronouncement is not, in fact, compelling. And then cites a case, and then cities ban on religious animal sacrifice, but corresponding allowance of other activities similarly endangering public health belied its purportedly compelling interest in safe animal disposal practices. The under-inclusive nature of the mandate implies that the mandate's true purpose is not to enhance workplace safety, but instead to ramp up vaccine uptake by any means necessary. If the deficiencies we've already covered aren't enough, other miscellaneous considerations seal the mandate's fate. For one, the agency cannot use its ETS powers as a stopgap measure, but concedes that that is precisely what the mandate is intended to do here, admitting that crafting a multi-layered standard that is comprehensive and feasible for all covered work settings, including mixed settings of vaccinated and unvaccinated workers, is an extraordinarily challenging and complicated undertaking, yet the grave danger that COVID-19 poses to unvaccinated workers obliges the agency to act as quickly as possible. For another, courts have consistently recognized that the protection afforded to workers by an ETS should outweigh the economic consequences to the regulated industry. But for all the reasons we've previously noted, the mandate flunks a cost-benefit analysis here. And then it goes further in talking about the ins and outs of what it entails and what doesn't work within the mandate. So it's just interesting to read and see that point of view. I don't know if it's 100% unbiased, to be honest. The way it reads, it's reading like a libertarian kind of point of view. But, you know, we'll see what happens going forward. It might just end up being like you know, just another PSYOP situation. We'll see.
Go ahead, E.
No, I didn't have anything. Why?
I was wondering, what's some of your thoughts on that? What do you guys think is going to be the impact of this ruling?
Well,
Go ahead, Ellen. Or one of you two.
I guess E first. What do you think? Well, how do you think that's going to affect things in Georgia?
I think it's the first time we see an honest, solid push from moving it from a pandemic to what is it called when you live with it's an endemic, right? When you live with the right. I think that's the first solid push we're seeing into trying to just make the virus just seem, normal, like the flu or the common cold or whatever. I mean, there are I think it's Pfizer who's already coming out with another pill or something like that, where
they're coming out with a pill version.
Yeah, so I'm like, they're already moving into, if you have it, we can mitigate the symptoms, and then it'll be gone in like a couple of weeks, just like the common cold. So that's what I think it's pushing to. I think that's what it was alluding to in the first place. So now, mandate wise, You got me. I mean, I'm still seeing lots of interest of like pushing the vaccine overseas for like the last residuals of cash. So,
Well,
yeah.
how is the mandate stuff going as far as Georgia? Like, what are the procedures looking like there? Because, you know,
Well, I know I work at a
we both live here in California. We know you're in Georgia and Chris is in Florida, so
Oh
that's
no, they don't
impacting
do.
us all differently.
Okay, the mandate doesn't really, as far as I know, the mandate doesn't really affect us. And in fact, I actually work in a school right now, and we all pretty much kind of sit in a room with masks on. Nobody's been forced to take the shot, or said like if you don't take the shot, you don't get paid or you get fired or whatever. That hasn't happened. Maybe it's because it's a red state,
Yeah.
but it hasn't happened. So if we're talking about the general public, they're progressively like not giving a crap about masks, like Florida and Chris's area over there. So I don't really see the ruling changing. I see the ruling changing, pushing it more into normalcy for Georgia, if we're going to say anything like that. That's what I see. That's my honest take on it.
That's what's up. What about you, Chris?
I mean, just like who is it? Yulu just said, what's up to everyone in the audience? You know, nice to see everybody. Thanks for coming by. I know I'm kind of late. I apologize. But with that being said, back to the topic though. I mean, this is good for the employee, for people who are working at jobs of more than 100 people. I mean, it buys them a little bit of time. We know that eventually the administration's going to get what it wants. So again, this gives people a little bit of time to get their shit together and make other plans if that's what they're going to do. Or maybe they could just continue getting better bootleg cards. You know what I'm saying? But that's.
Are we going to talk about the borax thing or no? If we're going to go with it, right? Like if we're talking about the mandate thing and being forced to take it, like some people are like, oh, I got to take the shot because of the mandate, and then they're trying to like remove it, like in other like bootleg
like
ways. And
I don't believe that. Maybe
Right.
people
I think that story.
maybe.
I think that story is complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. And we got to remember, coming from NBC.
Sounds as dumb as back shutting to me, but okay.
I was like, who bought that?
Like I tweeted about it. I said, honestly, my tweet went like, I guess I tweeted and I responded to it. And I'm like, I just think this story's bullshit. And then with all the responses up under it, I decided to respond. And my response was like, everybody, I'm like, all this is going to do, Democrats, because this is Democrats who are mostly strongly in support of this. All this is really going to do is going to make it a strong possibility that you guys do not get reelected. Because what you're doing is you're forcing people saying, true, yeah, you might be getting more people vaccinated because you're metaphorically putting a gun to their head and telling them they don't have a choice or they lose everything.
Yeah.
But all you're going to do is, I mean, like people like Gavin Newsom, who I think would normally just be completely safe, not even a chance of a Republican putting a glove on him. I think that with all of his pushes that he's been doing, and nothing, like my take is, even though they put this out, it still doesn't stop the state governors from doing their own thing. So, I mean, California is still going to be pushing full speed ahead. So it's not going to make that much of a difference here for what California is. I don't know how many, I'm trying to remember the amount of people in California. It's like 60 million or something like that. So so easily for what I want to say, what 3/10 of the population, like 30% of the American population, and then you factor in New York, you know, those two states, that's what easily probably 4/10 of the people in the U.S. are going to be fucked no matter what. So I don't know what
About 80,
exactly.
it's about 80 million people, right?
Yeah, it's like 80 million people. So I don't see anything changing for any of us. Ulu says, live in Minnesota, blue state. So that mandate would have gone through by that January deadline. So maybe in Ulu state, it might be a little bit different. Maybe the governor might not
Right.
feel as pressed, and with that new I guess that ruling coming out, they might feel a little bit that they can kind of ease off and they're not forced also. Yulu also says, right, the Dems have lost me through this mandate shit, and I was a Bernie supporter.
Same.
Hey, same here. I was a Bernie supporter also.
Right.
I mean, completely, they have lost me forever.
They lost
mean,
me in
Yeah, it was gone. It's
2016.
over.
I mean, well, I look at it like this: if you put a crazy enough person out there where I got to worry like of a bigger danger, then yes, maybe I might vote for you to avoid that worst danger. But now I feel like with the Republicans, they're going to screw us over. You're obviously going to screw us over. So what is the damn point? We're getting screwed over no matter which way it goes, and you guys are going to just force your fucking will on us. So, hands up. We give up. Just do what you're going to do, and let the chips fall where they lay.
One of the side effects, speaking of politics, even though I really don't want to talk politics, or at least party politics anyway, COVID, unfortunately, one of the side effects is it really does have you considering party politics, right? If you're in a state like California, do you really want to go through the lockdowns, the mandates, and all of the crazy shit they're doing in California? Or do you want a situation where maybe DeSantis is in charge and you don't feel it as much in Florida as you do in California? So unfortunately, on that note, it does put people back in those partisan camps and back in that
I think that's
partisan
the point.
mindset. It
By
sucks.
design.
I think it's cyclical. I think it's a cyclical,
Correct, that's what I'm saying,
cyclical
like-
pattern.
It's nasty that they got people who were trying to exit that. They kind of got them sucked back in because the consequences maybe of not voting. You're not going to stop the inevitable, but maybe you just don't want to get hit by the train at 300 miles an hour. Maybe you just wanted to hit you at like 60. Because they're going to hit us anyway. But at 3... Go ahead,
Yeah,
Mark.
I don't think that this is what they intended, that they want to force everybody back into a red-blue divide. I really think that they're just that tone deaf and so fucking corrupt that they thought that they could do this and it's not going to have any repercussions. That's what I honestly believe. I don't think that they're thinking, if we just split it, we're going to have it. Everybody's going to be on our side.
Marcus, you're referring to, at this point, Democrats in those particular states who are pushing mandates.
Yes.
Kelly.
Like I was saying with Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is probably, before all this stuff, would have been probably the safest governor by far. And now I can really strongly see him, like, for instance, like as long as they don't put up another, as long as the Republicans don't get insane and decide, to miss the signals and go too far. Because what they don't realize is California is still a liberal state overall. It's not like anybody is going to be like, yeah, we love the Republican way. No, but they will vote as, kind of like how a lot of liberals voted for Biden because they hated Trump so much. If they can just put up somebody somewhat plausible, somebody who's, they ran like another Arnold Schwarzenegger. Gavin Newsom is cooked if that happens. What's up, Mike? I honestly feel like if they, like, for instance, Kanye, if Kanye decided he wanted to run, man, Kanye would blow Gavin Newsom out of the water
He
here.
should have run in the recall.
But I don't know what his residential status is because I know he goes from Utah and back here. But I mean, there's so many people, or Wyoming, whatever that is. But there's so many other people which I think that if they decided to run,
100% correct.
Gavin Newsom, his ass would be done. And speaking of Gavin Newsom, he just showed back up. He gets the booster, drops off the scene for like 10, 11 days. And then all of a sudden he's telling people, hey, I'm still full speed ahead. And he comes up with this bullshit excuse like, well, I had to stay home with my kids. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Oh, put Barry's comment back up.
Yeah, all right, I got you.
Yeah, I want to make sure to read it. See, we got Signs. Hey, Signs said exactly, Chris. Whether it might not be intentional or not, many people will vote Republican because of this one issue. Exactly. Just like in Virginia, this is because of the way they asked the question. They asked it if it was like why people kind of voted more for what's his name, Youngkin. The reason why they put education, and so they automatically took that as most of these people's issue is critical race theory, when that's not what the educational issue was. Virginia was one of the longest states to keep the schools locked down, and that put a strain on a lot of parents. You got a lot of parents who all of a sudden now they got to make decisions. How am I going to find the money to pay for a babysitter? Or am I going to have to stay home with the kids? Am I going to have to make sure to get them online and do this and do that? And then you have parents who, now that they're sitting online with their kids a lot more, they're seeing what's being taught in schools. And some of them aren't happy with some of the stuff. And then it goes back to not Gavin Newsom, but goes back to
McAuliffe.
What Terry McAuliffe said, when you make a comment like, basically the parents, their say-so is not important or relevant to their own kids' education, you are going to piss off everybody, Republican, Democratic, Green Party, Libertarian, whoever. And trying to put it all off on critical race theory or, racism or transphobic, that's not one to take responsibility for for the overkill or the overreach I feel that they've done as far as their COVID restrictions.
Al, you were
I think politics is it's a comedy show now. I mean, you just have to point and laugh and smile, look at all the funny people, just try to
so you don't cry.
Right. Like Biden saying, we gave you all this money. Look at all this money we gave you.
It's theater with bad acting.
Right.
Yeah, with theater, but theater with consequences. Sorry, Chris,
that's the sad part.
Yeah, I'm saying they're not even attractive. They're all ugly. Like usually in the movies, you want to, bad guys look okay. You don't mind when they have a scene or two. Like these people, it's like, ugh. Like,
and the thing about it is like, well, you take like a AOC, which people consider would be like the most attractive out of them, and AOC is basic. when you really think about it. Kelly says, I was getting tons of emails from McAuliffe wanting money, and it's funny because his Clinton money's dirty. That's another thing. He couldn't even though Obama was completely bought and sold, he was at least able to hit Mitt Romney on the whole Bain Capital thing because he wasn't an investor. But Terry McAuliffe couldn't because he's invested in all the same crap which all the Republicans were invested in. So how do you separate and even attack somebody as corrupt or dirty when you're just as corrupt and damn dirty?
All of these politicians do not need our fucking money. Could I just say that real quick? Like, please stop donating to these rich fucks.
Right, they don't
stop
need,
it.
But they beg like they do. They beg like the homeless on the street looking for change in your email and everything. I'm like, oh my god.
Gosh. Just give us
$20.
It. No.
But they beg like they do.
Now my chat is trolling me too. Yeah, you guys see the teleprompter on the other side?
It looks kind of like a computer, but I can't tell.
I don't. For those in the audience who don't know what we're talking about, I think I linked the video down below. And normally, I would not give somebody who is trying to criticize me or come after me for more views, but this little pathetic channel, this guy's commentary is so horrible. Now, I'll tell you this. You're probably only really going to only need to watch maybe the first like 7 seconds, because the rest is just him singing very badly out of key.
Ugh.
So I think it's a Beatles song he's singing. But
I can't believe he didn't get copyrighted for that.
well, he does that a lot. I noticed. Well, I first noticed this guy. He goes by the name of Tokyo Shemp, which is a weird name. He thinks like everybody is all agents and we're all scripted and all this stuff. He's like, yeah, they screwed up again. I noticed him when me and Elle, we were at the Farce of July, and he actually took a portion of the video where, like, he got me chowing down. I'm like eating cake or something, and kind of like speaking with a mouthful to Jimmy, and Elle is trying to like. Literally at that time, Elle was one of the first people who was trying to tell him his narrative on COVID was completely wrong. Now, it took for him to get sick, as he says, and then later on he started to evolve a little bit. But now he's kind of being a fence rider, just kind of, okay, well, I could see the efficacy of it, but, but here's the problems with it. So he's trying to, play both sides. And people like, for instance, Anthony Reyes he's been like a dog with a bone on Jimmy, catching every little thing that he's been doing like this. Variant says, no, but I'm dead off if you're talking to the dude from the Political Matrix account and he's not. Yes, that's the thing about it. This is the hilarious thing about it. I have been contacting this guy and writing this guy from the Political Matrix channel on the video. He's having a back and forth with me. It doesn't even realize he's talking to me. Like, Chris, do you have my tweets?
Oh no, I had the video link up though.
Pull the video link up, please do. This I was so like I didn't even really know how to handle it at first. Like Franco was like, just don't even give him the time of day. Just let it go. I was like, this shit is funny though. This shit is so funny. So here's the video, guys.
These shows are scripted.
Hold on.
You have an
Let me see. Make sure my volume is up. It's kind of low.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got to get the volume all the way up for this, because this was when me and Chris and Chris making his debut on the Frank Analysis, and I think this part we might have been talking about. What was it? Metaverse.
I don't even know he didn't even let us talk.
I don't even know what we were talking about. Honestly, I can't say.
He didn't show a clip at all.
You can't remember.
So
well,
here we go.
It doesn't have me saying anything. It's him talking the whole time.
It's piling up. All these shows are scripted. This guy's name is Marcus Cage. That's the name supplied that we're supposed to believe is a real name. If you look into his glasses, you can see one of those halo rings. Those halo mirror things for teleprompters. I found one of those on McKinney, Cynthia McKinney. She was using one of those in a scripted dialogue on Combo Couch. This is sloppiness by the whole program. You can see things reflecting off of glasses. One can easily tell that all these shows are fake, inorganic, scripted. She's not a girl who misses much.
Okay, and then then he goes into his singing.
Well, I'm sorry. What did I watch? What is that?
Yes. What you think you saw, you
Sorry.
just saw. Somebody
I'm sorry.
literally believes that we're all part of the scripted shows. And so the content that we're putting out,
Teleprompter.
that what he saw, like I know
Oh
you guys
my
can see it right now.
God.
I'll go a little closer. Got my ring light that's right there. Now, here's what happens. I'll do this just for fun's sake. This is why I have a ring light on. Isn't it a little bit better lighting with the ring light on? That's why I have a ring light on. It is not a teleprompter. But this guy believes that's a
God.
teleprompter. And somehow, maybe, I don't know, maybe the words are like going around the teleprompter, going around the light. And so, I don't know, I don't know, do you guys see my eyes going around it? Or I don't know, maybe it's like
Oh
one
my
of those like really
God.
high tech ones where it's like hologram, that teleprompter in the middle of the light or something.
Oh, maybe just in your glasses. You're wearing the Google glasses.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I could be wearing Google glasses, all part of the metaverse. And I could have an earpiece in too, where they're really telling me what to say next. Yeah, Variant caught that also, said, peep the name of the video. Happiness is a warm teleprompter. Yeah, this muckraker is crazy. I watch morbid videos.
Oh my God.
For y'all who know Ali out there, one of the ones he said about Ali, he was like, you can tell Ali is like a high level possible military officer. Like that Ali is like one of the our
You
leaders.
mean Allie, who's been on this show, Allie?
Yes, Ali Alexander. Yes.
Oh my
I
God.
had no idea.
Yes. He said that Franco, he's like, this guy Franco, if you listen to his voice, he sounds like the same guy who used to do this sports radio thing, and they must have went and got him and then brought him on, and now he's doing it also. And he's all part of Jimmy Dore's like little secret army, and they're putting on these scripted shows. And so like I hit the guy up and I was like, so where I was like, so what do you think this guy Marcus is like up to? Like, what do you think he's like, have you found any info on him? He was like, he's really anonymous. So it's kind of hard to find. Now, anybody can Google me.
He's anonymous? What about Tokyo? Tokyo Shemp?
I'm anonymous somehow.
Oh my God.
What's your name, Joe?
That's
Tokyo
funny.
Shemp?
That's messed up, man.
That's
I'm like, I literally have 3 YouTube channels. I have 4, count them, 4 Twitter accounts. I have Facebook. I have Instagram. You can also see pictures of me online, and literally, if you really want to dig that hard, you could literally find articles from when I was in high school in certain newspapers
Don't give him
because of
ammo.
art and sports and other things.
I don't think he digs that deep.
Oh, see, now
That's
you
nice.
guys are sounding like robots. Now I'm starting to wonder if this Tokyo Shemp guy, if he's not the actual agent.
I want to
Might
read
be.
his comment because it was
Oh my
hilarious.
God.
Yeah, really. That's crazy. Chris, say something. Let me check, see if you're the same way.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I hear all 3 of you guys as, it's all something. You know what? That's what I'll do. I'll come out, come back in. Maybe let's just
Cool.
blame it on my signal.
Sure.
Yes. No, see, now you guys sound fine.
Yeah, you
I don't-
sound fun. You sound good too.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. Misha's like, ease laugh is contagious. Yes. That's why I love that's part of why I love Emmanuel on there, just in general. Even when it's a topic where he's just sitting back chilling, just Emmanuel's reactions are freaking priceless. And he been kind of cheating a little bit, not giving y'all the full gusto because he hasn't had the camera on as much. But hilarious. You guys got to see when he got the camera off. He's freaking hilarious. Um,
Marcus Rage. Read Mike's comment. Yeah.
Marcus Rage managed to keep 4 Twitter accounts. I can even keep 1 count. I have 2 suspended Twitter accounts. The only reason why I don't, the only reason why I have 4 Twitter accounts is, and I'll explain why. For each channel, I created a Twitter account. Now, I had the real Marcus Cage. That one was the first one, I believe. And I started that one in like 2017 when I hardly even got on Twitter. It's just because somebody brought it up and I got on and I was like, this shit's confusing. So I hopped back off of it. And then I started my second one, which I started once I kind of understood a little bit better, I started commenting a lot. And then down the road, eventually, when I started doing my channel, I started putting, I guess uploading some of my videos onto that channel. Well, once I started the political matrix, my mindset was I have one where I'm uploading the political matrix on this channel, one where I'm uploading what I've been thinking. Well, when I came up with the third channel, which is Hebrew Apologetics, because I know everybody. I know as far as the political stuff, I have a lot of people who are secular, who are atheists, and I know, especially in the political sphere, a lot of people don't want to hear a lot about religion. So I separated that one off. That way, I could just be able to have that interaction with those people who want to know about that kind of content and interact with people on that front also. And then the fourth one, all that does is I literally just upload videos. That's all I do. It's just upload of videos on that channel. So that one, I don't even comment on that channel, or I try to never comment from that channel or really even retweet anything. It's literally just all of my videos. And I figured that's another way to help get them out there because YouTube has been shadow banning us so hard that I figured, maybe it's another way to get some outlet, but that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is depressing.
Exactly. I only have one. I get it. I only have one, and it can really just start to depress you.
Well, and that's why I started going on Discord a lot more. I'm on Discord.
You know
I don't have to worry about filling. And my Facebook, honestly, I've had that forever. And that's because when I was in the military and I had friends, family, all these different places, that was a way where I could still stay in touch with family and friends. And so I didn't really even get into my politics too much on there because Facebook is like way more divisive than Twitter is. I mean, you have people who you've known since kindergarten, ready to cut you out. So I was just like, no, I just kind of try to stay as nonpartisan as I can on Facebook, and then Instagram, just because everybody else does it, and they're like, dude, you're lame if you don't get an Instagram. So I once in probably every 6 months put something on there and just kind of follow people and mostly laugh at Tony Baker videos. But that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of funny stuff on Twitter. I find a lot of funny stuff that does make me laugh outside of life.
Oh, we got to share this.
Go ahead, Marcus.
This is what Tokyo Shemp said on that video. Said, let's see, I think such individuals, myself, Chris, people like us, work for some part of the military, as in Five Eyes, which I barely even know what the heck Five Eyes is, or Homeland Security, and and that all the alphabet groups are. And my thing is,
there's more.
Yeah.
Is he trying to be Alex Jones? It feels like he's trying to be Alex Jones.
This guy, I mean, I look at it like this.
We'll be the Black Lizard people by the time he's done.
Does he know how hard it is to even get jobs for those types of people? Like, when I first got out, I tried to be an air marshal. I'm a guy who already has like all of this military background and all that. And they told me, no, you got to get this position first to be able to get that position and to get this, to get. I couldn't even get a job as an air marshal. How the heck do you think I could get into Homeland Security just like that? I don't have a degree in criminal justice. All I was an E5 in the Navy. And I worked in a field torpedoman, which has now been kind of like gotten rid of and merged into another field. So it's like, this guy's imagination is hilarious. Oh yeah, I forgot. He also said Pasta Jardula from Combo Couch is reincarnated, and he's supposedly this comedian from like the 50s or something.
What comedian?
Oh,
Now I have to ask.
I don't even know the guy. I was just like, this guy is so off the chain. I was just like amused with it after a while, because I'm like, this motherfucker is crazy. He really is like out there crazy. Like in the video, like one of the videos, he's like, yeah, I don't even get online, but I have all these videos lined up for me. And I'm like, so if you don't get online, how the hell do you get these videos? How do you even know what we're putting online if you're not getting online? I'm like, is somebody paying you and sending you videos and saying, hey, do a video on this person? I mean, it's really weird. So, I mean, one of the guys I work with, he was like, just be careful with that dude, you know. You want to make sure you know where he is, so you don't have some crazy person like running up on you trying to attack you because they think you're part of some government cabal or something. So, like, I just think this guy's just a random whack job. Because my thinking is, if he actually was part of some real deep state of stature, he would be getting more than like that video. Until I shared it, it only had like 10 views. Now I think we put him up to maybe 30 views. But nobody is watching this guy's content. Pretty much everybody's figured out this dude is just somebody who's either off his medication or needs to be on his medication. So I mean, I don't look at him as, you know, he's just some whack job talking. So I just think it's funny. I think everybody should. If you're one of those people who like to blaze or you like to have a good drink and you need a good laugh, and yeah, go on ahead and put on Tokyo Shemp. I think, you know what? Now that I remember, I think he actually hopped into one of our live streams once. You remember that, El?
yeah, maybe.
I really think he did.
So he's been a fanboy for you for a while, huh, Marcus?
He's on you.
I mean, he's mostly on Combo Couch. He's on Steve Boykinen and on Franco. Those are like his main targets. And so we only really popped on his radar because we were at the Farce of July. Well, I don't know if he's noticed, I won't say your name so he won't come after you down at the bottom of under me. But he didn't mention Chris yet. It's weird. He didn't mention Shadowban. Shadowban's on you know, Franco's channel often, but I don't know. I guess I stuck out for some reason to him. And since I am prior military, now it's going to really fuel his conspiracies even more. So I'm very interested in what he has next.
Let's circle back, girl. She's back.
What are you circling back to, Elle?
The circle back. Saki.
Oh, we forgot about him. Oh, we got Atrez in the house.
Yeah, he's been in the house.
Yeah, Atrez.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting caught back up on all the comments. I got a little behind. Sorry. Oh, wow. I'm getting way behind. Sorry. Let me get up to the line.
122 for the funniest fucking part. Maybe 121.50 to start. I can't remember when the question was. But this is the end of the press conference, the press briefing from the 12th, from 2 days ago, when Saki came back to grace us with her presence after COVID.
Oh, you mean after being sick? That's right. She was.
But asymptomatic and still working from home, so it's all good.
Yeah, I told Kristen,
Of
like,
course,
we
there's
almost
a
like,
Pfizer
we
ad.
forgot about it.
There's a Pfizer ad. That is just perfect for what you're about to see. That couldn't be better. Hell yes. Play the clip. Hilarious.
Outline a number of ways we would cut costs. I would note that we don't have partnership from most Republicans on that. We hear a lot of screaming about inflation. We don't hear a lot of solution agreement or willingness to participate in the solution. And that's really, or discussion of a solution. And that's really what we're looking for at this point in time. So I noted that the way that we can, and how outside economists are projecting we can address inflationary issues, is by continuing to push this agenda forward, past the agenda, because it will help spur economic growth, it will help spur productivity.
What'd you say,
and
Al?
also because it's fully paid for, and that's why
It sounds weird. The audio is not great. E, can you mute?
Yeah, sure.
Let's try again.
Summers, Moody's, Mark Zandy don't think it will have a negative inflationary impact.
On a separate issue, on November 16th, there are about 200 acting positions in the federal government that will kind of lose their authority under the Federal Vacancies Act. What is the White House planning to do about that? Is there any other plans in place about those acting positions, acting roles?
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. I'm not using the speaker. I'm just playing it straight off the just from the site. Sorry, Al, but go ahead.
I'll just read the fucking thing. Okay. Because you have like the captions there, so. Are those plans in place about those acting roles as commissioner? You know, we would love to get more people confirmed. I will check and see if there's anything we can outline further. Senator Manchin released a statement yesterday, and he talked about his ties. This guy, Robert Califf, who is in the running for heading the FDA, being the commissioner of the FDA, again, as he has done previously in 2016, I think, under Obama. Okay. About his ties in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm reading the captions, pardon me, and the epidemic. I'm wondering, they didn't say that at first. They started to say pandemic, and then they said epidemic. And the White House is concerned that this could be, is the White House concerned that this could be a tough vote from states where it is severe, like in New Hampshire and Nevada? And then she says, I would say, one, the president has been very clear, I assume that's what she's saying here, on his view of the role of the pharmaceutical industry in the opioid epidemic. He has also been an advocate of lowering the cost of prescription drugs to allowing Medicare, blah, 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 blah. And then she says, we know this pharmaceutical industry does not support that. The president is hardly in the pocket of the pharmaceutical industry. They would agree with that component. That is true with the vast majority of Democrats out there as well. The reason the president noted Dr. Califf is because nominated him is because he feels he is qualified. Their captions suck. I apologize. He has the, what does she say next? Experience. He is ready to take on the job the day he is confirmed, and that is why he was supported and passed with overwhelming support from Democrats and Republicans just 5 years ago, meaning the first time he was the commissioner. So anyway, that was the thing that she said. That was me relaying it to you. I hope that was okay. But basically, he's not in the pocket, hardly in the pocket of the pharmaceutical industry, while there's a Pfizer ad at the bottom of the screen. I just couldn't have planned that better, honestly. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
But it's all that insider stuff. They leave from Congress, they go to private business, and that's what it is.
I got a little article here that we could look at of this gentleman, so you know who he is.
Yeah, correct the Tress. I don't know how many people don't know that. Don't legitimately know.
I was wondering, back to a question on the mandate, because I think I asked everybody. I didn't ask. This I consider it a temporary block. What do you think is like? Do you think this is going to result in actually stopping the mandate?
Well, what I was thinking was that it seemed so biased that the media could use it and be like, oh, well, this is just a few, fringe people who want this, the petitioners and everything, and it's not that big a deal and we can override it, But ultimately, I think it was just to outline that there is not a very good legal basis for this mandate, and they know that.
Yeah, I know that part. That's obvious. But I'm saying, what do you think are going to be the ramifications?
They want to scare the private sector into doing what they want. So they know that certain businesses will just go along to get along anyway, just to stay afloat. And that's part of what the lockdowns were about in the first place, is my view, that they wanted to shut everything down so that they would need to be open when it came to that time when everything opens up. And they would be more pliable, and more easily swayed to do the papers, please situation.
Yeah, I mean, I get that part, but like, what I'm asking actually is like, do you think like this ruling is going to like alter anything as far as the mandate? Because I already get that it's not on sound ground.
I already know that it has legally, but not, not in the minds of the people. Like the people who want the mandates are still going to want the mandates, no matter how illegal they seem to be, and are purported to be by certain entities. So it just depends. Like, it's just, boosters. Yeah. Misha said boosters for life. They're just going to continue to do the boosters and give them to children and do the same thing, because that's what most people seem to not care about or want the most. It depends on, who it is, but a lot of people are just standing by waiting for something to happen, and they shouldn't be. They should be out there getting in the streets and showing
that's what I'm trying to ask. Okay, let's say
I think it would help that, actually.
Let's say hypothetical, everybody gets out in the streets, they do this, they do that. Do you think it's going to make a difference?
Not nationally in the way that people would like it to, because there are other avenues that they're taking. As you have mentioned before, California is going to do what California does. New York's going to do what they do. Every other state is going to do what they do. But this also concerns state rights, and this also concerns like workplace safety and how far you can go in implementing these rules. So this is a precedent that is interesting to see, because ever since this law was enacted, we haven't seen anything like this come about to this extent, covering so many people. Like, what is it? 80 million people are affected by this? Like, that's a lot of people. And that's almost impossible, to be honest. So it doesn't even make sense, really, when you think about it. Logistically, it's just not going to make sense. And again, it was about getting people's information. Like, you got to get their medical information and have them, like, give their vaccination status every, time that they get a shot, and show it to your employer. And then they keep it in a database that's totally secure, I guess, except probably not. FBI just earlier got infiltrated and hacked by some group, and so like they're having all of these cybersecurity issues at the same time that they're telling you, hey, trust your employer, give them your information. It won't come out, later, and do the QR codes and all of this stuff and the digital ID. Like, that's what's coming, even though it doesn't make sense. It's not legally right. It's just mass surveillance on a scale that we've never seen before. And that's what it's all about, is tracking us and modifying our behavior. Like in China, for example. and the quarantines that they have as well.
Yeah, I guess we'll just go on to that story. Then I was like, I get everything you're saying, El, but I was like trying to get like, do you think any of this is going to actually make a change? Like, if everybody got in the streets, rejected it, pushed back, do you think any of this is going to make a difference?
Uh-oh. Well, I said, like, it makes a difference to certain individuals, but not on a national scale. Like, it's just not going to make much of a difference because of the implementations of rules across the United States already that have already been implemented. Like, it's just not going to make any difference to people in New York or California or any of these states that are having this crazy COVID 1984 nightmare happening. So it just depends on who you are, whether it's going to make a difference, but it doesn't make that big of a difference ultimately in the long run because it's just one case. It's just one part of it. There's so much more to it than that. It's just kind of their last straw, that they're trying to get people to comply by any means necessary. And this was their last straw at getting that to happen.
Who's last straw?
The government, the U.S. government. Not even probably the U.S. government, but we're not going to get into that.
I wouldn't really say it's the government's last straw since they're the ones who's winning. It would be the people who were trying to push back's probably last straw, actually.
No, I mean the ETS itself. I don't mean this Court of Appeals. I mean the ETS was the last straw.
I'm talking about the Court of Appeals.
No, I know that, but I'm saying that this isn't going to make a difference, as you said, because of the implementation of other rules already in place. So it's just another problem to deal with. But other people will just be like, oh, just do it. Even if it's not legal, go ahead and do it. Like the businesses will do it if they're woke enough or whatever, or brainwashed enough, or desperate enough. Depending on where they are.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, since we're talking about shots, real quick, I just want to say, what do you guys think the verdict will be for that guy in Wisconsin?
I think he's going
to acquit his ass. No,
not
right. I think he's going to get acquitted. No question.
Yeah, not guilty.
Acquitted, no question.
Maybe one charge. I could see one very lesser charge, and then that's it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mark. Yeah, acquitted, no question. No question.
So that looks like that might be a place where I could possibly move to temporarily, because I'm looking at, California in the next by 3 years from now, California, it's probably. I put it this way: if Gavin Newsom wins, it's going to be vaccine passports. It's going to be everything out the wazoo. Even though Florida is literally not doing any of that shit and doing better on COVID than California is. And so it's like, I'm just going to make you guys go through all this shit just because I'm going to make you go through this shit. Even though I don't have no data to prove what I'm doing makes sense, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Somebody's lying, bro. I don't know who it is, bro, but somebody lying, kid. You know what I mean?
They can't even.
Somebody's numbers is
all lying.
They can't even prove the cloth masks work. They can't prove that, and so they're gonna try this booster campaign and everything. It's just so ridiculous.
But yeah, somebody's not being truthful. Either they're hiding cases and lying about that here in Florida. Or
bad for the kids, man. Heard them.
They're hyping up numbers in California and the like. Who knows?
And why, if so many are vaccinated, do we have so many cases still? But it doesn't stop the spread, so that's why. But they don't want to talk about that.
COVID can get
Metaverse.
To the Metaverse.
Yes, in Seoul, Korea, you can already go to the Metaverse.
I wouldn't be surprised if you get sick in there. Look, that
Maybe that's what
metaverse,
it's for. It's our quarantine.
that metaverse
I like Iceland's take on the metaverse. Actually, that was I laughed a little bit at that one. I saw it today. Their commercial on that.
Yeah,
What's that?
That was funny.
I was gonna say, I guess the other topic that I had in mind that I wanted us to talk about is China.
China.
Okay.
They have been saying that China is, for those who don't know, the government of China has been telling the people to go out there and buy up everything you need to do, like emergency supplies, all the goods that you can need, all the rice, all that stuff like that. Just buy, 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 buy. And for those who don't know why that's a big deal, is because they had like a situation which happened a couple of years back in China where they had panic buying and it led to a lot of starvation and stuff in China. So they're real touchy about doing that. And when you hear the government telling people, yeah, we need to actually do that. Now, what some people are saying is they're saying, oh, well, COVID numbers are going up. That's why they're doing it. I don't believe that's why they're doing it. Panel, have you guys heard anything about this, or am I just kind of on an island on this?
I saw a little bit of it on a gentleman's, probably a gentleman, someone's account on Twitter. But I see a lot of what's going on.
I mean, supposedly the only
China
thing I've
there.
heard recently is their emergency summit. Like I think Biden was supposed to do like some kind of emergency summit. I think it was either like next week or something like that, and it just kind of seems like.
Oh yeah, he's meeting with she,
right
with Pooh.
So
Winnie the Pooh.
Seems kind of a distractionary move. But...
Well, one of the things that he's needing to talk about is about China's new nuclear capabilities. That's one of the things that's being talked about, and so.
Well, that's the thing they want you to think about them talking about. The other things are not going to be advertised.
Oh, like okay. So, what other things do you think they might be talking about then?
Surveillance systems, probably digital ID. Situations. What they're going to do there versus here, and how we're going to keep up, and all that stuff. And facial recognition software and all that stuff.
I mean, China has so many billions of people. I don't think that they're worried about facial recognition software. It's
well, they have it already. They have all.
Yeah, but it's not very effective already. It's not very effective.
Well, maybe the U.S. will help them make it more effective, and they'll work together for that reason. I don't know.
I guess I'll ask Chris and Emmanuel because I have a different take on what's going on. Because you and Chris kind of think like China and U.S. are still like buddies and they're cool, and behind the scenes they're just really working together. I don't hold that narrative at all.
I think their relationship is one that they're at the point where one can't exist without the other.
Exactly.
Destroy one.
Yes.
So to destroy one is to destroy yourself, so to speak.
Correct.
Right? I disagree. But go ahead. Sorry.
I'm saying on some level, if the United States isn't set up yet to mass produce the items that they want to still sell to the rest of the world, they still are relying on China to mass produce these items for now, up until they can get their robot factories up and running, right? Fully to the point to where they don't need the people as much. I don't know if they're at that stage in their relationship yet where the United States is ready to blow them up. Not just yet, maybe in a little bit of time, but not right now at this moment.
There we go. Somebody who sees the things the way I believe that they see it from the angle I do.
Wars on the horizon.
Warrior, I believe that if you're looking at it from a China dependency on the U.S. and everything's about how the U.S. is, I feel like that's kind of a U.S.-centric kind of viewpoint. I believe China could sell goods to everybody around the world. Why do they need the United States? And also, you got to remember, China's currency is completely manipulated. They could play whatever games they want to with their currency. They don't really need U.S. money. On top of the fact that the U.S. already owes a lot of debt to them. If the U.S. isn't around and they're in control of the majority of the goods, then they can start pushing prices on the other nations at whatever prices they want to. Also, they can move into more theaters and have other customers in Africa and South America also, which that's markets there that are kind of off limit to them at the time. With the U.S. out of the way, they stand more to gain than to lose. And then with them wanting to go into, what is it? What was I going to say? Them wanting to go into Taiwan. You know,
But
the
so
U.S. is not on board with that, and they're pressing forward anyway. And I mean, unless you guys think that like that part is like fake, like the U.S. is like cool with them and their Taiwan push.
no, they got definite like static between each other. I just don't know where they going to. Where is this war going to be waged though?
If it's a nuclear war, it's going to be waged. I honestly believe that China plans on waging that war on America. It's not like, oh, we're going to find some third party. They're working on these nuclear weapons to get America out of the way. And so if they're able to launch enough nuclear weapons fast enough, then there's no counterattack back from the U.S. And the U.S. is just gone. They're no longer a player in the game anymore. Once they're no longer a player in the game anymore, then you can do business with everybody else. And also, you become now the major superpower. Just like how the U.S. dictates terms to all the other countries, then China would be the one who's able to dictate terms to all the other countries. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to work, but I honestly feel like that the mindset that they still are kind of like needing the U.S. I think that's an outdated, viewpoint. E, what do you think?
There was I can't remember what TV show speculated that this exact scenario was probably going to happen, that China was going to become the next world superpower, and pretty much everything in regards to human culture, human background, ends up being from a China-based perspective. I can't remember what it is, but it does. I didn't think war. I just thought gradual takeover during the demise of America.
But you really think the U.S. would sit by and just let them have gradual takeover?
No.
I do.
No, you're right.
I do on some level. On some level, yeah.
Well, do you believe that because there are some people who believe that America is in the last stages of its decline, like the Roman Empire, right? So that could posit that theory, but
if you go back into history, what took them down eventually was. I'm talking about what divided the Roman Empire into its own separate states and countries, which it's come to modern day. They were overextended, like the U.S. They were in massive debt, like the U.S. They had many divides in the nation, like the U.S. And then what happened? Multiple other smaller powers, not quite the power of the Roman Empire, all start attacking it from multiple fronts. You have us in 9 countries right now, and then that would be another theater. And one of the major attacks that really, struck at the heart of the Roman Empire and started really leading to their downfall was the Battle of Carthage. Not Battle of Carthage, but when the Carthaginians marched their war elephants over the Alps and came literally down into Italy. That actually started to pick apart the empire, because then you started to have the Vandals come in and all of these other nations start attacking it from different angles.
Well, don't you? Well,
for a long time, go ahead.
Go ahead, Emmanuel. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Chris. No, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I would say, but the people, that's looking at it from a nation, right, Marcus? Like the
Mhm.
United States. We're proud. We're the strongest country on. I think the people who really rule this shit don't give two fucks about where the capital is, whether it's Beijing, whether it's London, Malaysia. Maybe they don't care what happens to mainland United States and the people there. I don't know. But actually, it doesn't even matter because we'll all have headsets on to be in the metaverse anyway. So by the time the war pops off, we'll just be on the couch relaxing, not knowing a thing is happening.
Getting Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 in her dream. That's what
Nobody
I.
ever brings that up.
Yeah,
You know,
nobody
beginning
ever
part
brings that up.
where, that beginning part with the nuclear explosion, and she's holding the gate or whatever, and she's just blown all away.
Exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
telling. That's what they're working on. You know what I mean? And why would you be building more supersonic nukes if you guys are just cool and it's just about some? That just doesn't make any sense to me. As a
But couldn't
weapons
that be?
person, I know how expensive weapons are. I know how hard it is to compile these different weapons and all the testing and all the stuff that goes through. And that would just be literally at this point trillions of dollars for nothing. That just doesn't seem logical to me. That's
Well,
all.
since we're in 1984, right? Isn't it more about scaring the population about the need for a war or the coming of a war? Wouldn't it be more to scare your population than to justify spending all that money telling us that they have 96 nuclear missiles and they may just have 6?
But that would be one thing if it was you scaring your own nation. This is another nation threatening you.
It's true. But
You know,
at the
I
end,
honestly feel like a lot of our generals and our media, because we've been so dominant militarily, that it's out of most Americans' mentality that it's possible that anybody could actually beat us, that anybody would even attack us directly. Go back to 9/11. Before 9/11, nobody thought 9/11 was possible. And I think so many Americans are just in their head like, no, that's just not going to happen to us. It's kind of like when something crazy happens and you're like, you get robbed or whatever, you had in your mind that happens to other people. That doesn't happen to us. I think most Americans are stuck with that mentality. It just can't happen to us.
yeah, I don't remember what was that? What was it that Rockefeller document? Was it Lockstep? Maybe the audience can correct me if they remember. But weren't they saying in that exercise in that paper that they had admired China for getting their response to the pandemic correct by pushing
Yes,
lockdowns,
I could get that for
having
you.
government be heavy-handed, etc.
Yeah, they love
etc.
China in that
Yeah,
document.
yeah. I think some of the threat of war with China is hyped up a little bit. Wouldn't China be assisted by Russia? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think
So
Russia
Right.
wants war either.
why wouldn't they?
They
You
just
got to
don't.
remember, all of these nations are kept in check by the U.S. If
That's
there's
not
no
true.
U.S., there's no more keeping them in check anymore.
Israel has way more power than the U.S.
I was
No,
gonna say,
no, they don't.
like,
No, they don't. No, they
like
don't.
Russia
No, they don't.
allows their ships to get chased out of Syrian airspace by Israel. Like they just be killing.
Israel's strength comes from U.S. backing.
Correct.
That's where Israel's strength comes from.
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
Israel doesn't have that power on their own. They know if they mess with Israel, then the U.S. is coming behind them. But if there's no U.S. to stop them, then Israel is easy for the pickings. I'm telling you, because that's the only reason why Iran has not launched a missile on Israel right now, because they got to do with the U.S. The moment U.S. is not there, you think that little Iron Dome could stop the weapons that Iran has coming? No, there's no way they'd have a chance. They would be done the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I believe, like another story, which I've been looking at. Right now, people are talking about possible war in Europe with Russia. Russia has been bringing Russia and not Ukraine. I can't remember the other nation over there, but migrants to the border over there, and they're worried about that. Like seriously worried that it might turn into a war type situation.
Yeah, I don't. As far as it goes with the wars, I mean, who's the United States really going to? Who's not part of NATO, right? There's only a handful of countries, right? Who are not part of NATO. So you can rule those members. We can rule those states out of the way right now. It's only a handful of states left, with the big boys being obviously China, Russia, and a handful of other countries. Is that enough to beat back the United States and their European powers, though? Because at that point, it won't just be the United States.
Belarus. Well, what I'm saying is, the real power comes from the United States. You can have all those other European Union countries, but I'm telling you, my time in theater in a lot of these countries, what I find is it's about 90% U.S. and about 10% all the other nations, whether that's Great Britain, Italy, Germany, Canada, all of these other nations, they only add a little bit. The United States is pulling the bulk of it all. The moment the United States is not there, there's nothing to stop China, Russia, and you got to remember, it's the U.S. is actually going to be having to deal. It'll be the U.S. versus China, North Korea, Iran, possibly even Brazil, and who knows what other nations which are starting to get tired of the U.S.'s shit and would jump on that bandwagon with China as they see them as the emerging power. I don't know your thoughts.
Again, I just don't think nobody wants to push that button. There's too much money to lose, because it's not just governments fighting each other for resources or bragging rights or anything like that. There's a lot of business tied up, like from people selling scarves and shit to Apple having their products manufactured there on a wide scale, or Samsung having their products made there. There's a lot at stake. So if you
I'll tell you, not really. The reason why is, in all honesty, MMT has showed most people that currency is whatever you make it. They don't really have a lot to lose because they can reform their own currencies and debt or whatever. China plays around with their money all the time. And if you now can take over the resources, because that's where the real money is, the resources. If there's no U.S., all of a sudden, now you have business ties with Saudi Arabia. Now you have business ties with Iran. Now you're able to go in and take over the natural resources of a bunch of different areas. Once you own the commodity on these different areas, now you control the currency and you make the currency whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, of course. But that's what I'm saying. There's just a lot of business between individuals and companies. It's too much you're going to get a lot of pushback from a lot of people. You'll probably even get pushback from some of the weapons manufacturers. Like, hey, go play with Africa, finish bombing the Middle East, just chill over here. Or if you're going to bomb them.
That's still thinking from an American-centric point of view, because China doesn't make any money off of the weapons manufacturers. These weapons manufacturers are American manufacturers.
I know, I'm saying Americans. But you know, China make everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if they making the weapons too.
Well, China's making their own weapons.
Yeah, of course. I'm saying they probably building shit for us too. That's my point. Like they build everything else. Like this goddamn remote that's in my hand. Like when Kelly said, is everything made in China? First thing I grabbed, made in China. My wallet probably is. So I think a lot of the stuff about the war is like more to make us okay with the military budget being whatever 700 billion dollars it is. But honestly, Marcus, I don't feel like that they're about to start pushing buttons on each other.
Nope.
And if they do, it'll just be ships in the South China Sea. It won't be anything where they're trying to destroy mainland China or mainland United States.
Okay, I see. You guys are both completely convinced that that's not a possibility, that China likes being dictated to by the U.S., that Russia likes being dictated to by the U.S., and they're just going to be perfectly fine with the U.S. deciding this is how things go.
No, I don't think they don't like it, but they don't look what we see versus what happens. Sometimes those are two different things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
look at the article.
Like, look, they build
that's an article. Okay, who is this article from?
December 2020, biometricupdate.com. They do all of the biometrics, news. Chris Burt is very popular. He does a lot of the articles.
But what I'm
got the
saying
WEF
is,
in the corner too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you can't just, like, if you're going to start a war with somebody, you can't just automatically say, okay, I'm going to cut off all business ties and everything, because that looks too obvious.
This is after COVID.
But I'm saying is, if
they had a problem with China, they would wait until after COVID and blame it all on China and then go back and forth. Don't you think that would have happened first? If that were the goal, to get China. Like, this would be the perfect opportunity.
I don't think any of these deals or whatever that businesses work out between nations matter when it comes to larger overall goals. I don't think any of that matters. Yeah, they can have a deal about biometrics with this country to that country and this business with that business. It doesn't matter. I look at it like this. And Chris should understand this from the streets. If you got one mob boss who's ruling the town and the other mobsters see an opportunity to take out that big fish, do they not take that opportunity?
Yeah, there's sometimes they take that opportunity. Hell yeah, for sure. Let me just say, you don't think the rulers of China and the rulers of the U.S., you don't think they're more in cahoots than not?
No, I don't. The reason why I don't believe they're more in cahoots is because if they were more in cahoots, when China is talking about going to take Taiwan, they would be trying to tell Australia, calm down, just back off this shit. But they're not. They're literally talking about, hey, well, we might have to get in there and do something. They're still having this posturing as if they can still dictate terms to China. And China's clearly saying, we're going to take Taiwan. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And the U.S. is still trying to dictate as if they feel like China just needs to shut up and listen. And I just disagree with that assessment, especially looking at the leaps and bounds that China has done with their weapons technology. I mean, all China has been doing for probably the past 10 years is building up their weapons and building up their military. People might see all this other stuff that's going on, and that's what we call the full card Monty. That's the three card shuffle, which you see out in the streets. Hey, try to follow where it's going, but they got something else that's going.
The cards in their hand or the cards up their sleeve is not even on the table.
That's what I'm talking about. We can't just look at what's on the surface and be like, well, this person's doing this deal and they're worried about this. And look at what the overall bigger moves are have been going on. You don't spend all, and you got to remember another thing. China doesn't they're not like the rest of these countries where they're looking day to day, month to month, the next 4 years. China builds out
Something
their
long-term.
plans over 20-year periods. Well, actually 25-year periods. They're working towards an endpoint goal, regardless of what the hell is going on in front of them. And you have to always keep that in mind when you're dealing with China. And since you have Xi Jinping is going to be like the prime minister forever, and the same thing with Putin over there, they are working on an agenda. And Putin, his agenda since he's been in power has been to reunify the original USSR. How can you reunify the USSR with the United States telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that?
That's why he loves NATO so much.
Oh, let's see some of these comments. I saw
Really, I'm
somebody.
being sarcastic. He hates NATO.
Let's see. Mad Marxist says, Marcus, I agree. Coca-Cola still dealt with the Nazis. It's called Fanta. Standard Oil still served the Wolfpack Nazi submarines. Exactly. They still are going to do their business as they build up towards war fronts. Well, China submarines actually they have a lot more capabilities than they used to, and they're getting harder to detect stealth-wise. Their jets are still a little bit behind ours, but they've been upping their carrier capability. And though their carriers 1-for-1 are not on the same footing with ours, they have like 3 times the amount now. So they've calculated we can go a 2-for-1 kind of situation. And so if they're fighting 2 carriers on 1 carrier, that might even out the strategies. I mean, if you listen to a lot of top military strategists and generals and stuff like that, they are really worried about this scenario. And I from somebody who studied world history and wars and things like that, and who is a former weapons tech himself, and have kept up with these capabilities, they're not building all this shit for no reason. Yes, China has never nuked another country. Yes, that's irrelevant, though. That's completely irrelevant. Japan had never ran suicide attacks on another country until they did it on the U.S. That just because a country hasn't done something before, it's not a good reason to think they're not going to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing. If they tilted their hand and told the U.S. this is coming, or indicated that it was coming, then the U.S. would get up on their guard and start building up their weapons and defenses and all that. Their point and goal is that they could sneak attack. That's the goal. Make everything look like everything's fine and normal, and then do the hit when they catch them off guard. That would be how I would formulate the attack. I wouldn't dare say, hey, U.S., you better watch your ass because we're coming for you. No. That's not how you would do it, because they have so much more. Just think of a society. I mean, just think of a world. The U.S. is no longer even a threat. The U.S. is completely obliterated. China would be the strongest nation in the world.
I know.
What could they do as the strongest nation?
China really is the last boogeyman, because we just lived through about 5 years or 6 years of being told Russia's going to come and cut off our electric bill or
I hope I'm wrong too. I hope I'm wrong too.
According to Rachel Maddow, they were going to come.
I hope you're wrong.
Well,
man,
actually, I'll put it this way. I don't think that I'm wrong. It's just it's not a matter of if. I just believe it's a matter of when. That's whether it happens soon, or 50 years, 100 years down the line.
I believe this is what those guys have. LeBron James, some of them will have a hard time with our women. They may not want them.
Yeah, they were like, "Nah, keep them stubborn American women." Mm-mm. You know, they'd be playing Lenny Kravitz's American Woman the whole way over here.
Maybe like, you know what? Hold on, let me go back home. It ain't worth coming here. Let me go back. They too difficult. They talk too much. They ask for so much shit. They want me to work and do shit. Nah, player. I'm going back home.
Yeah, I won't.
Run back home to his wife like, ni hao.
Also, the Nazi situation is that's so complex in so many different ways too, because that's such a different scenario, and I don't want to get myself into trouble,
Exactly.
so I'm not even going to allude to what I'm saying or why it's different. But I see that the Nazis and Germany is very different situation. A lot of different nuts and bolts going on there, because fuck it. I'll try to say it. People were able to benefit in America from what was going on there. Also, people inside of Germany and in parts of Europe were able to benefit also. So Europe was able to benefit, and basically Western powers as a whole were able to benefit through that misery. This is something where this ain't about Western powers. This is about Eastern powers. Eastern powers are trying to do their own thing. And so we're still looking at a calculus of how it benefits the Western powers and not how it goes for the Eastern powers. That's what I'm saying. If you factor in how it benefits the Eastern, if you factor out how everything benefits the Western powers and think from the viewpoint of being China or being Russia or being North Korea or being Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, if you think from that point of view, it gets a little different. Let's see how Hitler's grandfather helped Hitler's rise to power. Well, the royal family, the British royal family, helped Hitler's rise and also funded Hitler during a lot of parts of the war. That's what I'm saying. It's a whole other animal what was going on there.
This is about documents that were unearthed in 2004. Great timing.
Oh yeah, I guess enlighten us.
Well, Prescott Bush was the grandfather of Bush, the president. And this was during a time when Bush was the president, and people were very critical of him in the media. So they decided to unearth these documents about the business transactions with Nazi Germany and Prescott Bush, and as well as other industrialists in America who benefited from not only the Nazis and their relationship, but also the Holocaust itself. One of those companies was IBM, which people don't talk about enough, which revolutionized their, what do you call it? With the concentration camps, like the, what do you call it? Like they had like a whole system that they used. I forgot what it's called. Darn it. But they used a system. It's probably in here, but probably not. But there's like an article or a book called IBM and the Holocaust, where they discuss the innovations that happened during that period in the concentration camps with the it's sort of like inventory, but not really. But I forgot the name of it, but there's a word for it.
Well, people need to look up Siemens.
Some kind of cataloging system.
People need to look up what Siemens, what they did in there. I'm not going to say it here because it'll get this whole stream taken down. But look at their impact on what they did. So Matt Marxist says.
And the railroads. the railroads during Auschwitz. Brown Brothers Harriman was very involved through. That's Prescott Bush's his business there. So it says right there on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And Chase Bank took money, froze accounts of Jewish people and others during Nazi, the goings on, and they benefited greatly from the whole experience. And then they apologized later on, of course, but damage was done by that point. Yes, IG Farben as well.
Yeah.
Fanta, as mentioned, was for Nazis.
Yeah, war could come through Ukraine too. It would draw in China. See, what you're saying there is what's in the works. I feel like people who are looking at Russia and Ukraine and looking at China and Taiwan as separate issues, these things are tied together. They are both working on these two fronts because they are trying to draw in the powers to start pushing against them. These are leading to escalations. And I feel like so much of American media, and even in independent media, they do not focus nearly enough on foreign policy and what's going on with these other nations and motivations and all these things going on. A lot of people don't even know about what's going on with Ukraine and Belarus and the migrants and all that stuff that's going on over there right now. I mean, a lot of people don't know that Russia and Belarus are literally flying squadrons over protecting migrants who are actually trying to infiltrate in to different parts of Europe. This kind of stuff is all like literally moving right now. And China, if you think China and North Korea is not having a hand in this and they're not coordinating, okay, while you do this and the U.S. focus on Ukraine or focus on trying to put sanctions on Belarus, we'll push more and more against Taiwan over here. These things are working in concert together. And it's the same thing with why Israel stays focused on, trying to assassinate every possible threat they think is going on in Iran. Why do you think they're doing this? Because they know that these things are all being coordinated.
I found some information about the IBM and the Holocaust situation. So in the book, Edwin Black is the author, and he charges that without IBM's machinery, continuing upkeep and service, as well as the supply of punch cards, that's what I was thinking about before, whether located on site or off site, Hitler's camps could not have managed the numbers they did. So that's an integral part of the Holocaust the IBM was involved in. And they have Watson, the Watson computer thing. So they're always in the Twitter feed. I always like to remind them of their past when they pop up in my feed. I'm like, IBM and the Holocaust. Here you go. Some information for you guys.
It said Lawan put the Belarus migrants was on CNN today for like 3 minutes, and it was followed by a promo of Princess Diana show they are pushing. Exactly, because they want you to focus on Princess Diana and shit like that. They do not want you to focus on any of this Belarus stuff and China, and they don't want to go in depth. They want to look at other stuff.
They want you to think about Uyghurs and how they're all...
what it is they don't want you to really focus on China at all. They don't want you to focus on any of those, because if Americans start focusing on that stuff, then they'll start getting a little nervous. And then they start shutting down buying and all that stuff, and it starts shutting down the economy. They want everybody to just keep on going on as normal, ignore what's going on out here. Think about it. The U.S. doesn't ever really try to bring us in on what the hell is actually going on. The whole time Obama was in office, nobody wanted to talk about all the different wars that were going on. Nobody wanted to talk about all the different things that were going on. They don't want to talk about war or possibilities of war on the horizon.
Did you see the
What was
New
it
York
about?
Times
His
article?
beige suit most of the time, right? Or him playing basketball.
Exactly.
Did you see the New York Times article that from 2019 there were so many civilians killed in the drone wars during Trump's administration? Like, they're finally talking about 2019 a couple of years later. Like, They
But
couldn't talk about it then, but now it's fine.
Well, you know,
In
during
Syria.
that time period, they were so critical of Trump that they couldn't say how much they approved of his his continuation of the drone wars, right? Or the
Yeah,
drone
and the
strikes,
budget.
rather. So it was like, he's trash, but when it comes to this, we're just not going to say a word. Let's move
But now
on.
they're the heroes. They're coming out like, "Hey, look at us. We're looking at everything."
Yeah,
from
they're talking about Trump's droning and all that now, but they still don't talk about Obama's droning. That's
No.
all
At
because
all.
that's
It was
all
okay
because
when he did it.
they're trying to find another narrative to demonize Trump and take attention off themselves. That's all they're doing.
Mhm.
They know that the
And then they
public
were
is
like,
now against all the droning and against all the civilian casualties. And so since they don't have Trump in the media saying something crazy for them to get ratings off of, then they bring up what he did 2 years ago.
and then before, when they were trying to unearth all that information about the drone strike in Kabul, more recently, they just wanted to take the credit for everything when it was people on the ground who were telling stories that got them to look into the story in the first place. And then they take all the credit because, New York Times, that's what they do now. So they're the last to get the story. And then they're like, hey, look, we got the story. Like us again. I'm not liking you.
Well, it's the point that kind of stuff is getting out on social media so much. So
Exactly.
they get dragged to talking about it. I mean, I've seen hundreds of stories like that have been ignored already. So, I mean, it doesn't at this point. I mean, it sucks to say it this way, but I'm kind of numb to it because I've seen so much of it that they ignore depending on who's in office or what's going on at the time.
They only did it because it was so big. It got so big on social media that they couldn't squash it. So BBC and New York Times were on top of that shit, trying to get more clickbait.
I keep feeling like there's some other stories that we are missing. I think I put another story up.
Austria's going into a lockdown tomorrow for unvaccinated people.
No, I'm talking about something that I put in the title.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Status coup, but we can.
Oh yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, I want to talk about Jordan Sheridan at one time, Marcus. I don't know.
I'm done with COVID for right now. I'm just COVID out right now. So let's skip to Jordan.
Okay. That's what
Go
it's about.
ahead.
That's fine.
Yeah, inform everybody if they don't know what's going on with.
No, I don't know what it's about. You just brought it up randomly in a conversation, and you didn't allude to anything. So I just want to know.
Oh, okay. Oh, you didn't know? You don't know what's going on? Wow.
No, I didn't know.
Jen Dize.
Those who are not familiar, Jordan Sheridan, who is the main host and founder, I thought co-founder because I thought him and Jen started the show together.
They did.
Just recently, he just kind of axed her from the show and didn't even let her know shit. When she decided to go and check in and start looking into the fund, she's completely just locked out of everything.
And he had a tweet about it, a whole thread of trying to justify it.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Look at the tweet.
She just axed her right on out of everything and didn't even give her the courtesy of, hey, I'm sorry, I think that we need to end this relationship or whatever. And my little personal story, which I'll say about Jordan Sheridan. A couple months back, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Jay-Z's Rock Nation law firm came out and they were talking about a story in Kansas City, Kansas, and going into the corruption that was going on there and a whole list of scandals, which they're still searching into all of that stuff right now. Huge, huge story that Jay-Z and his law firm actually gets involved in. I reached out to Jordan Sheridan at this time. I reached out to another, because I felt like this is a story that's bigger than what we can do, and I want to get it out to larger audiences. Jordan told me, oh, well, I don't really have, I got this other thing going on, so I guess I'll have to, I can't really deal with it. Which all it was getting more into the Flint story and all that. He could have gave this story a lot more attention, and he decided, let me just blow it off. It's not that important. And so that right there rubbed me the wrong way with him. And before, how much he used to always just beg for money, beg for money, beg for money. And so, you got to take off, Chris. Well, we're about to wrap in a little bit.
I'll see you guys in the chat though.
Okay. But he wouldn't even like really dig in and listen to any of the stories. So that lost my interest with Jordan and lost a lot of respect. So since he blew me off on that story, I was like, all right, screw it. I don't trust this guy. And a lot of people were telling Jen, she needs to be careful with him. Be careful. Because I remember
I knew that at least. I knew that.
There was another person who he kind of cut in a kind of messed up way. And I always thought the stuff with Ty in the beginning, how he left, was kind of weird. Even though Ty never badmouthed him. But I was like, something's up with this. And so now the news is, he's completely just kind of like tossed her away, like, yesterday's newspaper. So what's your thoughts on that, Emmanuel? Oh,
go on.
No, go ahead.
Okay. It's surprising how many of these groups and organizations have like these skeletons and like these this dirty laundry that people don't honestly know about. But if you were paying attention to what was going on under the surface or behind the scenes, you weren't entirely surprised that this was happening. You weren't entirely surprised that, they had a falling out somewhere down the line. And even now, there are some groups that just had a falling out just out of nowhere, and people are like, I didn't see that coming. And other people, like Marcus, were like, they were in the chat, they were in the Discord, they were talking to people, and they were like, oh, I totally saw that coming. So I didn't see this one. I followed him. I think he followed
Emmanuel, to drop a bomb on him. Emmanuel has access to all this information too. Emmanuel's, the celebrity over there. He's just busy with all his other stuff. But yeah, if you're in like the Discords that I'm in and some of the DMs that I'm in, you hear a lot. And so for those who don't know, some of these other content creators out here, though I might respect their work and, go to them for certain stories and stuff, I know behind the scenes stuff about them, how they act and interact with people personally, that is not as flattering. And some of you guys probably wouldn't watch some of their channels if you knew some of this stuff. I'm not the person who's going to go putting everybody out there who's doing what. I believe that if you're doing people dirty, it's going to come out eventually. And so I'll just let other people, bring out what you're doing, and you deal with it on your own. And it's not up to me to go and run around and tell everybody, hey, don't go to this channel because this guy is doing this, unless I feel like they're, taking money from you and grifting you. Some of these people, it's not even about them grifting their audience. Some of them is just like some personal stuff that they might have done, messing with other people that they messing with other people's like boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, maybe not paying people on their staff, or borrowing money from people and not paying it back. And it's a lot of drama sometimes that goes on between different.
I don't know if it's the fame or the money. I don't know if it's the fame or the money or the power or a combination of all three or just a little bit of whatever, but it just seems to exemplify like the very worst traits of said person or said individual. And it's just a shame. So it's just a shame, some of them, because that's messed up.
I'll say with our crew over here, this is one thing, whether we agree on topics or disagree, the one thing I'll say about my staff is everybody here is doing this because this is what they believe. You can agree with me, disagree with me. You can agree with L, disagree with L, E, Chris, and some of and Jalen and some of the other people who I work with also when we bring Sebs on and Ali and Shadow Bands on, and later on you guys will see Jack Sif come on too. We all care about what we're doing and we believe in what we are doing. We're not out here doing it for some grift or some hustle. I mean, if that was the case, we could have all been throwing our cash apps on the screen for as long as we've been doing it. I know Elle's been doing her own thing and doing her own videos for quite some time. She's been doing hers actually longer than I have. I mean, I think Elle has done some stuff. 3-4 years you've been doing content, Elle?
Well, my podcast is from 2013,
See?
but I don't have that many
okay.
episodes.
Well, but regardless of the amount of episodes, Elle is doing it because she believes in it. She's not doing it to make a grift or money. I honestly believe even when you don't have that many views, that really shows that you care about what you're trying to do, because you're like, even if I get one person or two people or whatever, I care about this, and so I'm going to put it out there. So sorry for blabbing too much.
Right.
Elle, you can take it.
I once I once emailed Status Coup when it was starting out to be like a creator with them, and I obviously didn't get picked, but I did like a whole fucking sort of like audition thing for it. But anyway, he had like a statement that he said on Twitter. I guess we could look at that or hear that.
Hear that. Yeah, Chris is gone.
He said, "Thread, last night's Status Coup." This is his side of the story, so we want to be fair. So last night's did we even do her side? I don't think we even heard her tweet.
I
would like to know her
side though.
Yeah, I just kind of set it up from our point of view, and you can kind of like fill everybody else in.
Well, let me do both sides then. Both sides now. Let me do her. Hers is really quick because it's just like, what the fuck happened, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, this was the original tweet, "I don't know what to do," and she was locked out. She says, "You are no longer an owner of Status Coup," from Google My Business. Then she said, "Did I do something awful? Is there a scandal?" "No, there isn't. No, I didn't. I am toxic and bad and the number one stressor. I'm unprofessional, crazy, a head case. Couldn't be helped, I guess. My first thought, it's Christmas. I bled for this. Loyalty doesn't get you anywhere. Hard work doesn't get you anywhere. Giving up your rights most certainly doesn't get you anywhere." And then somebody was like, "Jordan fired Jen?" And she said, "Wouldn't be the first time." So that's her side of the story. And then he said in relation to that, literally the next day, because this was on November 12th that she put this out, and he ran defense on November 13th at 4:11 p.m. He says, "Thread, last night, Status Coup co-founder Jen Dize," I think that's how it's pronounced, "told me she was reaching out to other journalists who she had already had preliminary convos with and would be moving on. Names redacted to not drag them into this." And then he shows a DM where she says, "Going to write blah, 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 and everyone else to let them know, and with some who I have had prelim convos with, move on." Then he says, "Upon my lawyer's advice, I changed the company's account passwords and went to sleep. As I was sleeping, my Twitter was accessed by someone else, not me, who retweeted her tweet. The whole thing sucks. I have nothing bad to say about Jen. She is extremely talented, and SC and I owe her major gratitude for helping us build from nothing to what we are now. I know she is going to do great things in the future." So that's really what happened right there. So that's the whole story in their tweets. Anyway, I haven't seen any actual statements.
That doesn't. You know what?
Doesn't make
I'm
sense.
not going to give my opinion into. That's what I was
No,
saying.
no, give
I
your
was
opinion,
thinking it in
Emmanuel.
my head. Here. No, I was thinking it in my head, and I was just like, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know how far this has gone. We don't know how far it's expanded. But you hear,
Yeah, but
both
E,
sides of it.
that's the thing. If you don't want people to jump to conclusions, give people answers on what the hell you're doing and why you're doing it. If all of a sudden somebody from this show decided that they were going to split ways, or I decided I got some crazy hair up my ass for I'm going to do this or whatever, I'm going to hop on the camera and I'm going to say X, Y, and Z and explain the situation and be man enough to either hope my audience understands, or if they feel I'm in the wrong, just tell me I'm in the wrong. Or if it's just a situation where somebody decides to just dip and they got something else going on, then, you know, be able to wish them positively, you know, good luck and success to that. But if you want to be vague about what happened and not really be clear, then it's your fault when other people start saying stuff and start jumping to conclusions, because it does not make sense to any of us. Am I wrong, El? Does it make sense to you?
No.
Thank you. Like,
And he's had an issue with unprofessionalism.
He's done this before. I've heard. I've heard he's done this before. Unilateral
There's
move,
a pattern
right? Unilateral
of behavior.
Yeah, there seems to be a pattern to unilateral moves. So it's a shame.
That's what I'm saying. It does not make sense to me. Not what he's saying.
No.
Because that so what his thing would be is that she's somehow making it up that no, that's not what she was doing, and no, she I guess she just lost her mind, or for some reason she apparently said she's going to move on and then forgot that and was trying to log back in. I mean, unless you can show more credible evidence that yes, she was trying to move on and maybe she got shot down and so then she tried to come back, but that I don't buy that. I mean,
doesn't work.
I just don't buy it. I mean, because I feel like Jen Dize, for one, I know she's a mother, and this is a career for her. I cannot see somebody just being so willy-nilly with their career to just toss it away, knowing you have a family at home to support. I mean, I remember when he was going through COVID and having the COVID lockdowns, and she was hosting the show by herself. I don't see somebody putting that much energy, time, blood, sweat, and tears in this, and just saying, just flippantly deciding, no, well, I'm just going to leave. Oh, well, no, shit, that didn't work. I'm going to come back now. That doesn't sound right.
I feel like if she really did want to leave, she would have at least sat Jordan down and explained it and talked to him and went over how hard the decision was and stuff like that, because she was loyal. That's loyal. She was loyal. That's loyalty. So it's just some of this work you just see like loyal. You see some of these people just give out like honest loyalty and just have it just like thrown back in their face, and it's just it's hard. It's hard to watch.
I haven't been following his shit for a while.
Yeah, neither have I. I mean, if we were to the level where we were like we did this for a living, and I had money to pay Elle and Emmanuel and Chris, and I was running the budget, I would offer her in a heartbeat to come over here and do the same stuff she's been doing over there. I mean, even though I know that she's probably not going to be in the same thinking or mold that we are over here, but I do feel like covering what's going on the Hill and Capitol and following, the nuts and bolts of these things and the investigative journalism and the on the ground talking to people is all valuable. Nonetheless, even though that's not what we do. Well, sort of. Ella's are kind of like on the ground. She follows a lot of the protests and things like that. So I don't want to undervalue what Elle does when she's out and about on the streets, but they fly to all these other different locations and do a lot of different things that we don't have the budget or ability to be able to do. So, I mean, I would definitely, if I could, have somebody like, a Jen over, but it just, to me, it just sucks how this all went down,
I didn't even know who that hinky guy was.
Oh, sorry, you both talked to the same time.
No, go ahead, Elle.
I was just saying to Misha, I didn't even know who that hinky guy was before I heard about him on Twitter from Franco.
He is a
Hinkle, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, was it Jackson? I think it's Jackson Hinkle. I forget his name, or George. I don't remember his name.
He's not a thing right now, though.
He's Jimmy. What he reminds me of is, I don't know if you guys ever had like those smug suburban kids who went to your school who seemed like their parents gave them everything, and maybe they weren't rich, but maybe they were upper middle class, and kind of everything just kind of falls in their lap. He comes across as that kind of guy to me, almost like a up and coming Kyle Kalinske. That's what he kind of reminds me of, where he has a way of appealing to an audience and getting people to pay attention to him, even though I don't know how much of what he says he believes. He's just throwing out shit that he thinks people wants to hear, and occasionally he will make his shitty bad takes and get busted and then try to backpedal from it. I know that Franco is been on his bumper lately and calling him out quite a bit. I mean, and I've said anybody who wants to have some kind of roasting fest, I know Propagandas went after him, but I would love to sit down and really question him about some of the shitty takes that he's made. Like just the other day, him talking about what's middle class and what's not middle class, and naming a whole bunch of professions that he doesn't consider working people. And it's like, just shut the fuck up, man. You just go back to, I don't know what you need to do. Just stop making, because I asked somebody, I was like, I don't follow his content. I'm like, does this guy normally make obnoxious and shitty takes like this? So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. No, go ahead.
Amazing. No, I was just gonna, the longer I do this work, the more I consciously have to realize how many people have really bad takes.
Yes, that's very cool. I want to put that up because that's the new phase. As
the climate lockdown. Okay.
Yeah, they're coming. Every day it's climate. Every day.
Well, it's because they know that the COVID narrative, because they're still going to keep pushing ahead with the COVID shit. It's not going away. But
yeah, but they're doing the misinformation shit now. They're just pointing out misinformation every day.
They know that they're losing the narrative on the COVID stuff. They know that people are getting tired of it. People are not listening to them, and they have more people who are starting to be skeptical of what they're doing. So they got to go on to something which they know a majority of people still support, but air quotes support. And what's going to happen is once they start doing their version of how they want to handle the situation, they're going to turn people off to that issue also. It's the same thing with most people as a whole. They feel like, okay, COVID, it's real. Okay, we should do this. We should do something. But it's not that you're doing something on. It's what you're doing and how you're doing it, how you're handling it is the problem that everybody's having. And they're going to take this same heavy-handed approach with climate also. Go ahead, El.
They keep going on their little planes out to Glasgow or wherever the fuck to meet each other, and then hold hands and then hold each other and embrace each other and shit, while people are in lockdown in all these other countries, including that one, I believe. And it's just such a show, and they don't really care about what they say they care about. The COP26 was such bullshit. Like, this whole thing is such bullshit.
I couldn't sit through COP26. Even that
It's
name,
ridiculous.
right?
They gave an award
I see what they were
to
doing
Albert
with the name.
Bourla. Go ahead.
And that's why I'm happy for Elle and people like Shadowban and Sebs and Ali, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be in the loop on none of that shit, because I feel like they're all so full of shit and they're going to push their agenda anyway. I'm just like, whatever. So they'll follow through these bills and these different lockdowns and the procedures, because I feel like there's not much we can do about a lot of this shit. They're going to push their agenda anyway. They're just trying to see how much of it they can get through and get approval before they get to the point when they really start just forcing it and start doing almost like Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that Australia or New Zealand? Correct me, Elle, whichever one.
Probably both at this point. They both have
think it's
very
both at this
strict rules.
moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Australia's a little more police oriented. Like, there's a lot of police brutality going on, but New Zealand has a lot of rules and regulations and the mandates and the two-tiered society with unvaccinated versus vaccinated.
Yeah, my mentality is you pair those two countries and Israel together, and that's and then the security and what is it? I can't think now. We were just talking about it earlier. Trying to keep track of everybody.
Tracking.
Yes, the tracking everybody. What London does. All the facial recognition, all the cameras, all of that stuff. You combine that, what's going on as far as the COVID from Israel, and then the authoritarian and police state nature of Australia and New Zealand, and that's what's coming to the U.S. Just a matter of when.
Yeah. And there was a big protest in Melbourne recently.
Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne is how they pronounce it there. But, a lot of people out in the streets just showing that they hate the mandates. So there's a lot of pushback going on, which is why they had to be brutal with people and just pepper spray grannies and shit like they do in the streets. But, Australia is turning into a China light, or turning back into the penal colony that it started out as, really. And then they have the quarantine zones and stuff. Like, it's insane right now. And people do not realize that shit can happen here anytime that they want it to.
I believe it is going. It's just a matter of when. It's coming. When you start having people as a whole start getting to the point when they also want to start getting in the streets and they all want to start pushing back against these mandates, like literally when you have more than say like in some of these states you got maybe 10-15% who are like vigorously fighting back. When it starts getting to a 30-40% pushing back, then you're going to start seeing this stuff happen.
Then it's going to be crackdown. Curfews.
Exactly.
Same shit, different.
You're going to start seeing more of the martial law type stuff and everything.
And it's going to be their fault for being out there, and the cases will rise, and it'll be their fault again. Like, it's always the protesters' fault, depending on which protest it is. If it's a protest against the government, it's usually a bad one.
And they're going to start, I honestly think they're going to get to the point where they're like, and we've already heard them kind of tilt their hand to it. Talking about how people online, they're going to have to start treating almost like, like Taliban online
Yeah.
and some of the terrorism. They're going to start
They're
anybody
doing
who's
that in
even,
Australia, yeah. In
that's
certain
what I'm
areas
saying.
in Australia, they've already implemented the social credit system that we fear so much here. And, calling out people for going to protest and showing up at their door and telling them, hey, we need to know where you were like a few days ago just to make sure. And I'm like, I don't want to tell you that shit. Get out of here. Why are you here? So weird. Big Brother, like times a million.
Yep,
Wow.
that is what is coming.
Good
Misha
question, Misha.
said, how effective do all the protests? Do you think all the protests are at this point? Do you mean the
Well,
protests
define
in
which
other
way.
countries, or you mean protests in other countries, or protests like
Here they
possible
suck.
protests
Like,
here would be?
Right. I think here they kind of suck, but
they're like thousands of people versus like 20,000, 34,000, 40,000, like in so many different areas in one country. Like it's insane. Like
Well,
there's a lot more people out in the streets in Australia, in Melbourne and Sydney and Victoria specifically.
yeah, the reason why I don't acknowledge them pronouncing it in those weird ways is because it actually came from the UK and they pronounce it Melbourne, and so they want to act like the R is not there. Then I don't care what they got to say. But Misha says in the US. I don't believe the protests are going to be very effective in the US
They're
because
not.
the reason why they won't, and when I hear people talk about, oh, we just need to protest, you got to remember, they've already broke the back of most of the unions already. The reason why these other countries are able to protest the way they do is because they still have union organization. That's why they have the numbers that they do coming out. The backs of the unions have already been broken. And so many people live paycheck to paycheck. You tell somebody, well, just go on ahead and just leave your job and come out and protest. They will be homeless. A lot of people are going to end up homeless.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
they can't make that move, and they don't have that flexibility, which a lot of people in some of these other countries have. Also, some of these people have more disposable income, so they can afford, okay, well, I can make this, I'll give you a perfect example. I know I've seen protests in like Scotland and Ireland. A lot of people don't realize that they don't pay property taxes on their houses and stuff. So when your house is bought off and paid for, it's bought off and paid. You own that. You can lose your job. You still have your house. In the U.S., even after you pay for your house, you still got taxes that you have to pay on it every year, and you can end up losing your house, which you've already bought and paid for, because you don't pay taxes on it. That's some of the other things that we don't factor in that are different. Another reason why people aren't pushing back as much on some of these mandates as far as the vaccinations and stuff is because in the U.S., we were already forced to take vaccinations to just start school, whereas in a lot of European countries, it's optional. You don't have to take you don't have to take a vaccination to start kindergarten or first grade or any of that stuff. It's all optional. So they always had the option. So for them to be mandated all of a sudden, it's a huge leap. Whereas we've been already conditioned, just take it and shut up. Now, to anybody who's listening, who is one of these people that don't get why some of us would be resistant to it, is those vaccinations have been tried and tested for decades. Some of them, 50, 60, 70, 80 years of research on them. That is completely, extremely different than some shit that they just came up with right now and telling you, oh, well, don't worry about it. We already know it's going to be perfectly safe. You have no clue. There's no way you can prove to me what kind of side effects this is going to happen 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. Because when I was in the military, we were around all kind of shit that you find out 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now. Oh, shit, there are side effects. Oh, crap, this is going to fuck up your liver. And we find out this stuff all the time. So you're going to tell me Oh, no, no, no. We already know that 20 years from now, this is still going to be perfectly safe on your body, and it's not going to have no side effects. No, you can't give me that kind of nonsense. And the fact that they have a liability shield on this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
come on.
Can't touch them.
You're going to
Can't
force
touch
somebody
this.
to take something and tell them, hey, if you get fucked up by it, hey, it's on
Can't
you.
touch this.
Come on. Does that sound right to anybody?
Can't touch them.
Let me remind you guys
I'm sorry.
about 1976, the swine flu epidemic, that they tried to sell this vaccine through CDC, and then it turned out that it gave a lot of people Guillain-Barré syndrome and a lot of other issues that they could not come back from. And that was like the first time that they sold a vaccine like to the public in the US on such a mass scale for no fucking reason. For one dude dying at Fort Detrick or Fort Dix, I think it was Fort Dix. At Fort Dix, one dude died, and then all of a sudden, from an unknown illness, a mysterious illness that they just assumed was this swine flu, and they had this propaganda for it. And I'll put it in the chat since it's not possible to like put it in on the screen for you guys to see. You can just look it up, but like there's a documentary about it from the 60 Minutes people, and then not 60 Minutes, was it a Canadian show? Shit, I have to look into that. Hold on a second. I'm gonna make sure I'm right about that. Swine flu, 1976.
Yeah, but if it ain't from one of those official, or if it's not from one of the sites which they will deem as official, like you say, this Canadian broadcaster, misinformation. So just be careful.
Anyway, if you watch like the propaganda videos, the ads that they put out, it's very similar to what they do now with these targeted ads about COVID.
Let's not say propaganda. Let's just say ads that we don't trust.
Okay.
Well, we do not want
questionable.
Official disclaimer: we are not saying anything that's been put out now is propaganda.
But okay. Anyway, the ads that they had were very similar. It's like, see if you are sick, and then if you're sick, get the shot, over and over again, just putting it in your head. And they put it everywhere, and the guy off the White House was getting the shot, and everybody was getting their shot, and it was just a whole big mess. And it turned out not to be as big a deal. It was 60 Minutes. Okay, it was 60 Minutes. They did a report. You can still find it on YouTube, but you have to look for it. And it doesn't come in. Is that the whole thing? 15 minutes? I feel like it was longer than that. But I guess it is 15 minutes. All right, so you can still find it on YouTube if you guys want to look it up. If you haven't seen it yet, it's a very informative report from 60 Minutes that probably wouldn't happen today. Probably most definitely wouldn't happen today. And has the CDC director of the time saying like, I didn't know, and this guy knew, and I didn't know, and then the other guy's like, I didn't know. And it's like nobody wants to take the blame for everything that happened with the vaccine. But there also was the whole 2011. Was it 2011? Let me make sure. But I just had it in this search engine. Millions of swine flu vaccines to be thrown out. 2010. Okay, 2010. From the 2009 swine flu with our lovely, wonderful President Obama. And they tossed out millions of vaccines. 40 million doses of the swine flu vaccine was tossed out after that. Turned out not to be as big a deal as they thought it would be. But now they found a way to really profit off of the vaccine, so they're going to keep it going for as long as possible.
Get us in trouble. We're not Jimmy Dore. We can't get away with saying something like that.
Keeps warning you,
Yeah, I mean, as we are not trying to spread medical information at all. We are We're not trying to give anybody any advice what they should do or shouldn't do. We're just talking about previous vaccinations where information has come out, documentaries have been done stating information. That's what we're saying. Our positions
I
are
had
our
proof of
positions and
that,
opinions independently, and that's it. What was that?
I did have proof of that commercialization that I was mentioning of the vaccine, specifically the one from, was it AstraZeneca? I think in Europe, there was somebody who came out and said that they were going to commercialize it. They were going to put it to market. Let me see if I can find that. Because I put that in there.
Which vaccines? What are you talking about? As far as what?
Let me get that info. Hold on.
Yeah, are you talking about as far as 2011?
No. I'm talking about the new one.
No. Yeah, scratch that. We're not putting that up at all.
You're not putting it up. I'm not saying put it up. I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't want to touch anything that has to do with the current situation right now.
They said that it wasn't going to be not for profit anymore for the vaccine.
Yeah, whatever they're doing. Yeah, because then they're going to say that.
Because it's endemic. They said it was going into the endemic phase of the COVID-19. That was the quote.
Yeah, Misha says here, it sucks you can't say what you want to in a free country. F you too. Yeah, we can't say what we want to say. We can't even say. The reason why I'm being careful is I've watched people literally get strikes for just reporting what other people even say. I've watched people get strikes for. What is it? Andy Slavic, who is the COVID director, said everybody's going to get it anyway. That's what he said, and I've watched them go after people for that. So I'm not even saying that. This is reporting what official people say. So I get I get it, El, but since these people are so touchy on every little thing, and we can't go on, well, but this is the facts, and they don't care about facts. I've learned that. YouTube does not care about if it's factual. They do not care if it's accurate. If they feel like they want to take you down, they're going to take you down. And we can't go on with it. They don't care. That's my thing. So
they can't get you in the present; they'll get you in the past.
Yeah, exactly. Really, so I don't want to play really it. I'm not trying to throw caution to the wind to think that it's not, because it's not really going to. Whatever we say is not going to matter anyway, because they're still going to do this shit. They're still going to, whatever their agenda, however many people they want vaccinated. And that's the reason why, like I was asking earlier, like even though this one judge has put this temporary block up, it is not going to stop anything. It doesn't. I've gotten past the mindset of believing that they have to have legitimate arguments or that they have to have credible this or credible that. If the government decides and corporations in this country decide that something is going down, something is going down, and it ain't jack any courts are going to do about it. Like what I guess what I was trying to allude to and asking is, even if this goes to the Supreme Court, do you really think the Supreme Court is going to strike this down? No.
Hell no.
I completely believe the Supreme Court isn't going to stop this either.
I don't believe that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody knows you're not bullshitting. We all believe you.
Well, I know that.
None of us are doubting
people I know.
It just sounded like it came out of nowhere.
It's not you. It's not me and Marcus that don't believe you. It's not the rest of the team that doesn't believe you.
It's not even our
audience. It would sound bad if I didn't clarify. Anyway,
it's not even our audience that doesn't believe you. We all believe you. We all believe.
Anyway, I don't want to just be believed.
All do.
Without any evidence. But anyway, I wanted to get to. Let's get to John Cleese. Yes, let's get to John Cleese, who's getting canceled, please.
I don't even know about John Cleese.
Okay, so I could tell you about that story. So basically John Cleese didn't want to go to Cambridge because it was too woke. Basically, he didn't like that somebody had gotten blacklisted for doing an impersonation of the guy we talked about before from Germany. He said, I was looking forward to talking to students at the Cambridge Union this Friday, but I hear that someone there has been blacklisted for doing an impersonation of Hitler. I regret that I did the same on a Monty Python show, so I am blacklisting myself before someone else does. So he was making a joke.
Oh.
And then he said, I apologize to anyone at Cambridge who was hoping to talk with me, but perhaps some of you can find a venue where woke rules do not apply. So people got really mad at him on Twitter for saying woke, 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 like, you know, making a big deal about it and, you know, talking down to people. And you're not supposed to punch down, as they say, you know, since the whole Dave Chappelle thing. So then he was kind of going back and forth with people on Twitter about it. And The Independent did an article about him canceling himself. Self-canceling is a great way to boost your profile. Just ask John Cleese. And then he made comments about it on his Twitter. And this is a guy who's not like right wing or whatever, but that's what they're like painting him as, which is kind of funny because he hates Trump too. I mean, he doesn't hate Trump, but I don't think he likes Trump. So he's like, he's saying shit they don't want to hear. He's talking about comedy being like funny and not trying to toe the line of what woke people want to see. So, you know, like the LGBTQIA people and the people who are easily offended, you know, in the community of whatever the fuck. So that's what his thing is. Basically, he's trying to say, like, it's harder to be funny now because of the way people perceive things and they get so sensitive. That's what his whole thing is about.
Oh,
So he's
I mean, I've got to the point where I don't even really watch stand-up comedy anymore because it's not even a point. You can't see it. Everybody's too fucking sensitive now, so it's
yeah.
whatever.
So they're canceling him on Twitter just as he would like to be. Now he's in the limelight. He got what he wanted.
Well, I don't believe somebody like John Cleese can really be canceled. I mean, he has his
No,
own.
of course not.
He has his
I
own
don't
group
think so.
of people, so there's not going to be a canceling him. Us, on the other hand, we can very easily be canceled.
Yes, regular people are likely to be canceled more so than celebrities.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Exactly. So
That is the issue for the people who don't believe in cancel culture. That's the issue, that normal people, regular people get canceled and get their careers taken away rather than celebrities who do horrific things allegedly who end up, you know, thriving.
Well, I believe that there's three things that get you canceled today in this day and age. If you go against, if you're a so-called anti-vaxxer, when that's most of the people who I know who are resistant to getting vaccinated, COVID vaccinated, they are not resistant to vaccinations overall. I mean, most of us have had all kinds of vaccinations our whole lives. It's because of the circumstances surrounding this one cause us to have some worries and questions. So to call us all anti-vaxxers is a misnomer, but they do this on purpose. It's the same thing with always making the I word about horse dewormer when there's a human version. There's two separate versions, but it's just about muddying the waters. It's like how they were saying, well, anybody who doesn't want to get vaccinated or anti-vaxxers, they're all Trumpers. I mean, I know a lot of people who would consider themselves leftists who are in that camp. So it's just about, you know, the people who are in the, I would say, liberal spheres, them deciding, okay, if you believe this, you're a right winger. And the people who are right wingers deciding, if you think this, you're a liberal. So, I mean, when I hear somebody say, well, you're for, well, anything, they don't really, well, most people on the right can't see a difference between people who are economic leftists and people who are cultural leftists. There is a difference. Sometimes you can be both, but myself, honestly, on some things, I'm definitely not a cultural leftist. But economically, I always have been an economic leftist. So, I mean, and most people who are liberals are not economic leftists, they're cultural leftists. They're caring about the first female this, the first black this, the first Asian this,
Exactly.
stuff like that. They don't really care about the
The
substance.
cultural
behind it.
leftist stuff is
Yeah, you know, they're caring about, well, let's get LGBTQ, what all this stuff, and let's focus on these things. Let's not focus on actually helping people's quality of life. That's been my focus, because I felt like if we can focus on improving people's quality of life, everything else starts to take care of itself. So that's my take on that.
I mean, I see cultural leftist. There's something very interesting about the cultural version of it. You question Hillary Clinton, you're right wing. You question Obama, you're right wing. You question the Democrats' stance in the war or low wages, you're a white winger. You love Trump, right? You secretly love Trump. So
Or if you criticize Obama or Biden, you automatically love Trump, and it's like,
exactly.
why come there's not a third option of I just don't like either one of them?
Exactly.
I don't like presidents.
You can't have right. You just can't have the viewpoint that says I don't like either one of them. I don't trust either one. I don't trust either side. I don't trust the red or the blue.
I'm like, what about about 200 million Americans who don't vote at all?
Exactly.
Where do they fall in this?
They're not doing their part.
And I'm glad we're discussing it too, because next year's literally going to be that if you don't vote, if you have a question about any of the Democratic policies, well, hell, you're just a Republican, or hell, you're just well, you're
I honestly think like this will be the first year that I probably won't even cover I probably won't even cover politics.
Exactly. I just don't want to cover it at all. I don't even want to look.
I probably won't cover it.
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to.
Same bowl, different turd.
Yeah, I'm like, that's y'all shit. That's why I love what like me and Jalen talk about on our show. It's shameful plug. Talk of the ages on what we've been thinking. We talk about a lot more pop cultural stuff. We talk about people getting canceled, all different things like that. Yeah. We don't talk about. In fact, we can't stand. We try to avoid talking about COVID as much as possible. We try to avoid talking about electoral politics as much as possible. We just focus on the differences and talk of the ages being my demographic versus his demographic and how things have been changing for the most part. That's what we talk about, because we realize in the grand scheme of things, there's not much we can do about whatever. Biden gets in, Biden does whatever the hell Biden wants to do and whatever the liberals want to do in the corporations. Trump gets in, he does whatever the hardcore conservatives want to do and what the corporations want to do. I've been voting for Democrats and been out there pushing for this person and knocking on doors and doing phone calls. And you know what I've gotten in about 20 years of politics? Not one damn thing I've asked for. Not one. So what's the fucking point?
Exactly.
I've not seen my quality of life change from any of these presidents. But what I've noticed, remembering being a kid from the Reagan era, shit has just progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, regardless of who's in office. So why should I even care anymore? That's my thinking. You guys can continue voting for the lesser of two evils, which is still evil, and hope that it's going to change anything. People always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something to change. Well, I'm done being insane.
Right?
Watching Obama beg Jalen's age group to vote is like the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, they're not buying.
Oh my God.
They're not buying what you're selling. It's terrible. It's like they're really not. They're just not buying what you're selling, man.
I agree. People should be, not canceled forever and be able to have a chance for remorse, but not in this society. Not how people are moving these days. They don't care. Everything is, you did this, you're over. Well, the reason why is, let's be honest, the authoritarians from the right and from the left are the ones who are in power. And they're completely unflinching and uncompassionate to those anybody who doesn't agree with them is automatically the enemy. And that's what we're dealing with now. The Biden people, anybody, if you actually support Biden, you're an authoritarian. Plain and simple. You're an authoritarian. In fact, I go to say you're an authoritarian fascist. The same way if you're a Trumper, you're an authoritarian fascist also. Because he's like, well, I don't care, build the wall, do this, do that. He doesn't give a shit about what the other part of the country cares about either. So what it is you have this third of people who are politically engaged, this other third of people who are politically engaged, and they just go back and forth and fuck the people in the middle. So
yeah,
exactly.
All right, let me do like the joke that he said on Twitter that really got people riled up at him.
Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll close on that note.
Okay, this is his tweet that got him in trouble. The one that really got people pissed off. Woke joke. A man walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Are you a racist?" The man says, "Absolutely not. I abhor every form of racism." The barman says, "I'm with you there, 100%. Not hilarious, but in no way problematic. And I promise not a pro-racist statement." That was his trying to poke fun at the whole, like, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. So then you end up with that, just a very not racist statement joke. And then they're like all mad about it. And they come back at him.
It?
I don't even get the joke.
Really it. But that's the point. That he's not supposed to be problematic in the joke, so it's boring and not funny.
Yeah. I guess I lost it.
That's what pissed them off because they're like, "That's not funny. You can still be funny, but you can't punch down."
Here's my thing. How are you one person and a whole group of people are upset with you, and that's punching down? You can't. If it's a whole mob of people who are against you, by definition, you're not punching down. They're punching you.
Right.
Punching down would be if you don't have the means to push back.
Exactly.
So
they don't understand that they're not oppressed.
You have the means to push back and go after somebody. They're not punching down on you. You're the one who's punching them.
Exactly. Anyway, he had fun with his little attention.
Well, I guess I got to go to Unedited Island. I guess Misha wants me to go to Epstein Island.
Everybody go there. I hear it's beautiful this time of year.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the way I'm looking at things is I want to probably find my exit route sometime soon because I think it's going to be like Escape from LA at some point, like the whole Kurt Russell movie. Because I see only dystopia coming for this place.
Oh,
you're going to rock an eye patch, Marcus?
What was that, E?
Go ahead.
I said, you're going to rock an eye patch, Marcus? like Snake, rock an eye patch. So, that's awesome.
Maybe. Nah. Yeah, there's not much of a point these days. What was I going to say? I don't know. I guess I don't have anything coming up that I could think of. Oh, yeah, that's right. I do have something coming up.
We didn't even promote the Frank analysis show that we did. We have to promote it.
Oh, well, go on ahead, plug it.
They didn't see it. If they didn't see it, go to Frank Analysis's channel, and you'll see Marcus and I did an episode recently of his live stream, and it was really fun. The one with Nick Rock in the elections.
Well, not directly to his channel. You probably should check the Rockfin. That would be the one you guys.
That's what I mean. Rockfin, of course. We're not talking about YouTube. Go to his channel on Rockfin.
Yeah, you need to check out. Yes, me and Elle just recently were on Franco's channel. We did the first part, and we talked a little bit about Travis Scott. I'm still building some information on it. That's why I put in the chat. I forgot in the chat, not chat, but in the description, I put a video down there that I thought was pretty interesting going into Travis Scott. A video, because I wasn't sure if we were going to get to it or not, about the metaverse. It's from a Truth Unedited. Yes, it is a religious channel. I'd say at least watch the first 25 minutes, and then you guys can probably cut it off after that. He starts getting into, into his rhetoric. So, but the first probably 25 minutes, it does a pretty good job breaking down some things and explaining, explaining some different things. I'm probably going to be talking a little bit more about this metaverse thing because I've been focusing a lot of energy, I guess, on more the metaverse. And I'm going to be working on a video sometime in the future going into predictive programming and some of the predictive programming that they've done as far as getting people prepared for the metaverse, which some of you guys might already kind of think of a couple of things right off the top of your head, but it might be shocking to some who haven't thought about it how much metaverse stuff is coming up. What else? I am going to be redoing the video about the Matrix. My breakdown on the Matrix. I might have to speed it up and hurry up and get that done quickly because the movie is coming out soon, and so I wanted to have all three, 1, 2, and 3 done, the breakdowns on all 3 movies, and then go into some other stuff that's leading on to all that. So expect for some breakdowns on some movies coming up soon from me. Of course, Misha, we know you're joking. But yeah, expect some of those breakdowns coming. And I know I got some stuff back. I got so many videos backlogged. It's just never enough time to get to everything. So that's what we got going on. I see my co-host right there. Jay in the building.
And what's up, Jay?
Make sure to go over and check out our video that we just did the other day. We talked a little bit about metaverse, and actually on our next episode coming up, I have to get with Jay to see if we're going to do it tomorrow or if we're going to do it later on in the week. Just figure out what time that we want to do that. But that whole episode is going to be about the metaverse. So yeah, that's where I was going to get. I was going to put a lot of that stuff together, and then hopefully I have all my ducks in a row to send it over to Jalen to do some screen shares and pull up some of the clips and things like that, which I want you guys to look at. So yeah, that's what I got going on. The metaverse stuff we're going to be talking about, digging into pretty heavily over there on Talk of the Ages on what we've been thinking. And then look out for those Matrix videos. And then, and then I'm pretty sure I got, Deuteronomy 28 breakdown is coming for those who follow my Hebrew apologetics page. So I know that's a lot of stuff coming, so make sure to watch out for all this stuff that I have coming. Misha says, recommend some movies real quick. As far as metaverse, is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking, Misha? Because if so,
holidays or
well, yeah, I don't really do holidays unless it's high holy days. But I'm pretty sure he's probably talking about movies for as far as metaverse.
Okay.
One that I recommend is almost like a must see, and I honestly feel like Uh, oh yeah, anything. Well, I always throw out my favorite movie. One of my favorite movies of all time, Demolition Man, because Demolition Man
Hmm.
goes into a lot of stuff which we are going to be seeing going on. Old school movie that has to do with the metaverse, which most people have never probably. Some people have seen it. Some people probably never even heard of it. But it's an old school. And this I'm going to break down this one in there. It's called Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
That is a old school
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Keanu Reeves movie.
Look up
Yeah.
that.
I got
and
one
that-
that nobody would know. I got
What's
one
that?
nobody would know. Brainstorm, 1983, the last Natalie Wood film with Christopher Walken. They have like a whole VR thing going on in it, and it like bleeds into reality, the system.
Yeah, you
So
got
it
me
follows
because I don't know
research.
much about Natalie Wood.
Okay, I didn't know about that one. Okay.
It follows a research team's efforts to perfect a system that directly records and replays the sensory experiences and emotional feelings of a subject, and the efforts by the company's management to exploit the device for military ends. After a researcher records her own death from a heart attack, her colleagues join forces to retrieve the information and play it back. It's a science fiction film, not really, from 1983, Brainstorm, all together, Brainstorm. So I've seen it. It's pretty wildly like, you'll see the predictive programming in that one. That's all I'll say. It's like pretty crazy and very, that leads up to Inception for sure. Like definitely.
Yes, Inception's another good one that people should look at. I'd say Tron Legacy. That's another good one. Going into some of this stuff, and the movie which I feel like for instance, Wall-E is a good one that kind of shows what they're leading us to. And I guess the last one I'll say is Ready Player One.
Mhm.
Check out that one if you haven't seen it yet. And if you just want to watch a movie that's old school in history, what I'm probably about to watch when I hop off, look up the movie Rosewood. That has to do with you know that one.
Yeah, I know that one.
That one is based off of a true story. It goes into I don't want to give away the plot too much. I'll just say that a woman claims that she's raped, and they allegedly blame it on a black man who's escaped the chain gang prison system, and he allegedly he rapes this woman, and so white lynch mob goes through, and they're going through this town, and I'll just say things get ugly. I'll leave it at that. But definitely a good movie to check out for a good historical movie. That happened I want to say was the 1920s. So when they start talking about stuff like Tulsa, Oklahoma, just know that there's a lot more Tulsa, Oklahomas that happen across this country. I guess that said, I will leave it at that. Good point to bookend it and get on
Can
out
I
of
leave on a poem?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
That's
ahead, Al.
random, but like I wrote a poem, and I think it represents not just me, but like our show a little bit. I wrote it at 12:09 a.m. like the 13th today. So it goes like this, and I guess this is my ending. E can say something else, but you can love or leave me. It's your choice. I'm a human being with a voice. I'll use it till I choke. This shit isn't a joke. We can live together or die apart. I'm hoping that it won't get that far. Don't trust or believe me. It's okay. We've come to the ending anyway. That's it.
Oh, damn it! I forgot. Chris got off of here. I created a intro. You know what? I'll save it for next time. But I will save it for that. I was tempted to upload it, but I'll save it for next time and open the show with that kind of intro. Hopefully, you guys like it. Actually, Misha, you're in the anybody who's in my political matrix private chat. Hit me up if you want to see it, and I'll give you guys the sneak preview. So that said, you guys all have a good one. Yes, peace to you also, my brother. Peace to everybody who's still here and those who will check this out later on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our content, and please join us next week. And also, please join me and Jalen coming up either tomorrow or sometime during this week. This is, Marcus Young Morpheus, or Marcus Rage, as some like to call me. The Whispering Machine, El Latham, and the Blue Maverick, Emmanuel himself, and Chris, who was here with us earlier, our good brother and colleague. This Political Matrix signing off. You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Night, everybody.